Thank you, Warden. So for the roll call, members are sitting at the dais, and I have all members of council sitting as the shareholders in attendance with a few exceptions. We have received regrets from Deputy Warden Coughlin with alternate Councillor Anita Moore in attendance. We received regrets from Councillor Cox. We received regrets from Councillor Laux. And we also received regrets from Councillor Michael Smith with alternate Councillor Henry Sander in attendance. You have your quorum.
Thank you. I'll look for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Brian Smith. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? If you happen to find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. So adoption of the minutes. So I'll look for a mover that the minutes of the meeting of shareholder of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation held June 27, 2023 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Fowler, second by Councillor Van Staveren. Questions arising from the minutes? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So matter for considerations, we have the annual general meeting. So I'd look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Miskimans. That item HCB 2024-174 dated June 11, 2024 be presented the annual meeting of the shareholder for consideration of the following recommendations. That the officials named in Schedule 1 to item HCB 2024-174 be appointed as directors to the Simcoe County Housing Corporation, SCHC, and that Baker Tilly KDN LLP be appointed as auditors for the SCHC, and that the 2023 draft audit financial statements of the Simcoe County Housing Corporation be approved, and that the actions undertaken in the 2023 by the SCHC Board of Directors be ratified. Questions on that motion? All in favor? That is carried. So a very short Housing Board meeting here. So I'll look for that the June 11, 2024 meeting of the shareholder of Simcoe County Housing Corporation be adjourned at 9:03. Moved by Councillor Measures, second by Councillor Prost. Sorry, Beth. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So now if we could stand, are you ready for our national anthem? And we'll open our council meeting. Are we singing? Oh, here we go. Okay, thank you. So I guess we need a roll call again. We're back in council now. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thank you, Warden. Attendance remains the same with all members of council present with a few exceptions. Again, we received regrets from Deputy Warden Coughlin with alternate Councillor Anita Moore in attendance. We received regrets from Councillor Cox, and we received regrets from Councillor Laux. We also received regrets from Councillor Michael Smith with alternate Councillor Henry Sander in attendance. You have your quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So I'll look for the approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brian Smith that the agenda for the June 11th, 2024 meeting of this, I'm on the shareholder meeting. I apologize. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brian Smith that the agenda for the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the County Council be approved.
Questions arising from the agenda? All in favor? That is carried. And I did forget to ask, is there anybody who has to leave early today? Yes, Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Around 10:15 to 10:30, please.
Okay. Any others?
Your
Councillor McDonald. Yep.
Sorry, Your Worship, 12:30.
12:30. Councillor McDonald.
12:40.
12:40. Yes, Councillor Dole.
12:30, Your Worship.
Okay. We're going to have our work cut out for us here because quite a long agenda. So I'll look for disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council. Not seeing any, but if you find yourself in that situation, please declare it at that time. Presentations of deputations, we have none. So could I have a mover for the consent agenda? I've got Councillor Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Norcross, that the Council communications and proclamations May the 28th, 2024 to June the 10th, 2024 have been given due consideration be received.
Any comments, questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And Councillor Dolan for the adoption of the council minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Evans that the following council minutes be confirmed and adopted and Committee of the Whole reports be confirmed. County Council minutes May the 28th, 2024, Committee of the Whole report May 28th, 2024, and Committee of the Whole confidential report May the 28th, 2024.
Any questions arising from the minutes? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to our Committee of the Whole reports. Chair Evans.
Good morning, Your Worship, and thank you. Good morning, Council. Section 9, presentation, consideration, Committee of the Whole report. For performance management for May 28th, 2024. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miskevens. The resolution is the performance management recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report dated May 28th, 2024 be approved, including the confidential item. Is there any discussion or comments on this, Council?
Okay.
Seeing none.
Not seeing any, so none to be pulled. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And next, Chair Leduc for Human Services.
Thank you, Warden. We're up to 9.2, Committee of Whole Human Services report. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Human Services recommendations contained within the Committee of Whole report dated May 28, 2024 be approved.
Any items to be pulled from Human Services? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And lastly, Chair Dolan.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Measures that the corporate services recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report dated May the 28th, 2024 be approved, including the confidential item.
Any items to be pulled from corporate services? Not seeing any. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. So presentations and considerations of special committee reports, we have none. County officers reports, we have none. Motions of which notices have been previously given, we have none, and I don't recall any notices of motion, and no closed session. So we're on to the bills. Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, moved by myself, second by Councillor Burkett, that bill number 708024 be enacted as a bylaw of the County of Simcoe.
On that motion, any questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Announcements. I actually have quite a few announcements today. I'll try not to burn up the next hour and a half. First, I'd like to congratulate County of Simcoe's own primary care paramedic, Jeff Dion, who recently was presented the Ontario Medal for Paramedic Bravery. The medal was given to the paramedics who have demonstrated great bravery without concern for their own personal safety, risking their lives to save others. On one afternoon this past January, paramedic Dion was off duty while traveling through a winter snowstorm in Oromadani and came across a motor vehicle accident. He exited his vehicle to assist and discovered an OPP officer laying injured on the roadway. He immediately took action and pulled the injured officer off the roadway to safety. I wanted to highlight this story and share these details in recognition of his heroic efforts and the efforts of all of our first responders. And I'll invite Jane St. Clair, General Manager of Health and Services, to provide some additional comments. Jane?
Thank you, Warden. I can say that we are extremely proud of Jeff for his act of bravery. He's been with the County of Simcoe as a primary care paramedic for approximately 12 years, has also filled in as an acting supervisor, and he was recognized at a special ceremony at the Royal Ontario Museum by the Lieutenant Governor Edith Dumont. And this year marked a change from an award to an actual medal, so a really incredible ceremony. We did have our Director-in-Chief present for the ceremony, and just want to echo the Warden's comments. We are extremely proud of Jeff, his courage and commitment for going above and beyond to help others. So congratulations to Jeff. Thank you.
Our gala reminder, coming Thursday, June 13th, we're hosting our annual Warden's Gala in support of the United Way Simcoe Muskoka. We thank all our partners in advance for supporting this fundraising initiative. And if you're interested in attending, yet haven't registered, please contact the Warden and CEO office, and we will make sure we get you a ticket. So Simcoe Village Campus Redevelopment Update event. We would also like to remind County Councillors, Wednesday, June 19th at 11 a.m., our Health and Emergency Services, Simcoe and Procurement are celebrating the progress of the Simcoe Village Camp redevelopment construction site in Beaton. We encourage and welcome all councillors to attend our event, but we'd like to place great emphasis on this event, particularly because this is one of our largest builds to date, and we want to get you on site so you can actually see the scope of the size of it and how well it's rolling along. So that's June 19th at 11 a.m. in Beaton, and invitations have already been sent out. So please let us know as soon as you can. And lastly, this is a reminder that we have a special meeting of County Council scheduled next week, June 18th, and this is for governance. And this meeting will run the whole morning, and lunch has been ordered. So please try and clear your schedules to be at that governance workshop. Okay, any other announcements and inquiries? I didn't burn the whole morning. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm sorry to have to send regrets to the Simcoe Manor event on the 19th, but we have a groundbreaking of a large commercial tenant in our employment lands, which I wouldn't want to miss. So thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Warden. I have a message from Councillor Michael Smith. He would like to thank Councillor Raj Sandhu and Councillor James Leduc for all their help at FCM, and he was sorry that he couldn't be here this morning. He's at a funeral of one of his colleagues from firefighting. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. You're part of his campaign team again, I would assume. Good. Councillor Measures.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I also want to offer my regrets. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend the meeting on the 18th for governance, which is a very important discussion for this council. I will be, of course, representing council and the best interests of the province of Ontario at a Niagara Escarpment Commission meeting held in Niagara-on-the-Lake. We're going to be there for a two-day conference and workshop talking about the future of the Niagara Escarpment Commission. So if anything significant comes from that, I'd be happy to report back to this council as to what's going on there. But I wish everyone the best at the meeting on the 18th, and I hope that we have a good discussion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Warden. Just on behalf of ESSA Council and our staff, we'd like to say thank you very much for having a team in our Swing for Health. It was a great day, and thank you to Councillor Keith Bell and to General Manager Trevor Wilcox for also joining us. It was a great day. Thank you.
I remember the day you were going to that. Yeah, we had to hurry up out of one of our meetings. Didn't want to be late. Any other announcements? Not seeing any, so I'll look for the confirmatory bylaw with Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Walker, that bill number 7081-24 be enacted as a bylaw of the County of Simcoe.
Everybody's heard the motion. All in favor? That is carried. And now I'll look for a motion to adjourn the June 11th, 2024 meeting of County Council be adjourned at 9:15. Moved by Councillor Measures, second by Councillor Fowler. All in favor? That is carried. So with that, we'll roll right into our Committee of the Whole. Just wait for our Aurelia reps and Barrie reps to come and join us. We have quite a few presentations today. That's what happens when you have a couple of quick meetings. You end up, as they say, pay the piper again. Okay, I'd like to welcome the city reps here, and I'll look to my clerk for roll call.
Thank you, Warden. We have all members of the committee present with a few exceptions. As noted previously, Deputy Warden Coughlin is absent with alternate Anita Moore in attendance. Councillor Cox is absent. Councillor Locke sent regrets. Councillor Michael Smith is absent with alternate Councillor Henry Sander in attendance. And we have city reps with us. Aurelia Councillor Durnford is present. Aurelia Councillor Follis is present. Aurelia Mayor McIsaac is present. Barrie Councillor Negusi is present. And Barrie Councillor Rietma is present with Barrie Mayor Nuttall absent and Councillor Hamilton absent. You have your quorum.
Thank you very much. I'll look for approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by alternate Councillor Moore that the agenda for June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of the Whole be approved.
Any questions on the agenda? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Not seeing any at this time. If you find yourself in that situation later, please declare it at that time. Presentation and delegations. First thing, we have Jill Tetman, President and Chief Executive Officer, and Todd Young, Chair of the Board of Directors, to provide a delegation on behalf of the YMCA of Simcoe, Muskoka. I believe you're up there. Come on down, folks. So whenever you're ready.
Perfect. I know what I'm doing.
Good morning. My name is Todd Young, and I'm the board chair for the YMCA of Simcoe, Muskoka, and I'm joined today with Jill Tetman, our president and CEO. Today I wanted to thank Warden Clark, county council members, staff, and guests. Your ongoing support and collaboration have been crucial in helping us achieve our goals and expand our reach across this region to support children and youth. We are here today to make a formal request, again, for the $2.5 million support from our original project in 2019, and to request an additional $2.5 million to support the escalated project costs. I stand before you with great excitement and pride as I share the vision and the developments of our new YMCA regional hub for Simcoe County. We are on the very cusp of a remarkable transformation, a collaborative effort to build a vibrant, healthy, and sustainable community. With our dedicated partners and supporters, we are embarking on the creation of a new 77,000 square foot facility that will serve as a regional hub, providing a wide array of programs and services to residents across Simcoe County. This state-of-the-art facility will include youth transitional housing, licensed childcare, youth and newcomer services, an accessible indoor playground, community meeting spaces, an intergenerational hub, and a health and fitness and aquatic center designed to meet the needs of our diverse communities. This investment in social infrastructure allows us to build on our 100-year tradition of fostering healthy communities. Our goal is to create a welcoming and inclusive environment where individuals and families can come together to pursue personal growth, strengthen social ties, and improve their physical health. The new YMCA will be a beacon of hope and a testament to what we can achieve when we work together for the common good. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, did I go back too far? Through our amalgamation in 2005, we brought together the YMCAs of Barrie, Collingwood, Midland, and Orillia, and we formed the YMCA of Simcoe Muskoka. This union allowed us to expand our reach and enhance our services, creating a stronger and more unified presence across the county. We operate as a charitable organization, ensuring access for all. No one is turned away due to financial constraints. In fact, 1 in 10 of our members receive financial assistance, and this number continues to grow as we welcome more individuals seeking support and connection. Our reach extends to every corner of Simcoe County, offering a wide variety of services to meet the evolving needs of our communities. We provide licensed childcare, youth outreach services, health and fitness programs, immigrant services, employment services, and much more. Each of these programs are designed to help individuals and families thrive, creating a healthier, more inclusive community. Last year alone, we served more than 60,000 residents of Simcoe County, demonstrating a profound impact on our communities. As we continue to grow and evolve, we remain committed to making a positive impact and a difference in the lives of those we serve, fostering a sense of belonging and support for everyone in Simcoe County. The YMCA is a crucial partner in fulfilling the county's mandate in a number of ways, including providing quality licensed childcare, constituting nearly 2/3 of the local system here. Although our commitment to the community extends well beyond childcare, we also manage municipally owned recreation centers in partnership with the towns of Innisfil and Wasaga Beach, and lease land from the towns of Midland and Collingwood to offer a wide range of health and wellness services. For many years, we've worked closely with the county to deliver employment programming to help individuals gain skills, find jobs, and achieve greater economic stability. We also collaborate with other organizations across the county to enhance well-being of children and families. We continue to work with the county to support Ukrainian refugees and their families, offering a lifeline to those in need. Our collaboration extends further as we have provided early childhood educator assistant training and employment support, ensuring that newcomers are well equipped for their professional journeys. We are deeply committed to supporting newcomers and their families through our participation in the local immigration partnership, or the LIP. These include settlement services, language programs, and licensed childcare. We also proudly serve as ambassadors for Simcoe County's It Starts campaign, promoting inclusivity and community spirit. By organizing events, workshops, and community gatherings, we strive to create connections and build relationships that will support newcomers as they integrate into the community. By fostering strong alliances through partnerships, we can pool our expertise and resources to better serve the community and tackle pressing issues more effectively. Further to fulfilling the county's mandate as the system service manager for housing, the YMCA, in collaboration with the county, will provide standalone transitional housing for youth to help them transition to independent living. Our youth services will supplement the housing program by addressing employment, life skills, entrepreneurship, and support for at-risk youth. The county's commitment to the well-being and success of residents is further bolstered by our partnership with RVH's cardiovascular rehabilitation program, delivering rehabilitation services to individuals recovering from cardiovascular events. In partnership with the Simcoe Muskoka Regional Cancer Center, we offer cancer patients specialized care and assistance through their journey to recovery. And additionally, we partner with the Simcoe Muskoka Catholic District School Board to connect youth to high school credits through innovative summer camp programs that blend education and recreation, keeping students engaged and motivated throughout the summer months. Our work at the YMCA is driven by a deep commitment to community development, and we continually seek new ways to support and uplift the residents of Simcoe County. You will see on this slide a rendering of the new YMCA Regional Hub. On the left, I think that's your left, is the licensed childcare space, connecting with our intergenerational hub and community kitchen. Moving north, the Health and Wellness Center will include aquatic center, an accessible indoor playground, community meeting spaces, cardiac and cancer rehabilitation, gymnasium, fitness center, and indoor track. And that connects to the opposite side of the building, which is where the youth transitional housing will be housed. Our investment in this project will generate millions of dollars in economic spin-offs, create hundreds of jobs, and stimulate the economy. This significant investment in our region's social infrastructure requires support from partners, government, and the community to ensure its success and sustainability. To date, we launched our capital campaign, we sold the former YMCA Grove Street property, and secured a significant provincial grant in 2021, which has been reaffirmed for our 535 Bayview Drive location. And we have signed a 50-year lease agreement with the City of Barrie. The original projected budget in 2019 was $36.5 million. However, due to rising construction costs and unforeseen expenses, the total now has exceeded over $60 million. To address the increasing costs associated with youth transitional housing, which has become a pressing issue, we ask County Council to again support the original commitment of $2.5 million and address the escalating costs with an additional $2.5 million, with a new 4-year commitment beginning in 2024. This investment will help meet the growing demands in our region. The YMCA has long been a foundational presence in Simcoe County. Our efforts align with the county's commitment to affordable housing, support for youth and newcomers, and the promotion of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. By securing this funding, we can expand our programs and reach even more individuals in need. This support will have a lasting impact, fostering a healthier and more connected community for years to come.
Forward together. Our goal is to break ground in early 2025 because our community can't wait. Connections can't wait, and creating a thriving community together can't wait. This new site will offer space for people to gather and share experiences and build lasting relationships. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone present today and to acknowledge Warden Clark and all the mayors and deputy mayors that we work with currently and all of the ones that we will plan to work with in the future. Your unwavering support and partnership have been instrumental in enabling us to achieve our objectives, broaden our impact, and embark on an exciting future together with projects that will positively impact your communities. It's time to get started on this journey ahead. With your support, there's no limit to what we can do, what we can achieve. Let's go forward together. working together to build a vibrant, healthy, sustainable communities across Simcoe County. Thank you.
Okay, do I? We send this for a staff report, but any questions for the presenter? Van Stavern.
Thank you much, Your Worship. Welcome to our council here, and Todd. Quick question: you're only looking at money from us for capital expenditures. We do not participate in any operating expenses with these new facilities. You will not. We're not looking at any of that.
That is correct. The ask is for the capital expense for the transitional youth housing.
Will we be asked at a later date to be involved with any operating expenses?
So we will work with the county, and I will maybe ask for staff.
Yes, go ahead, General Manager.
Through you, Warden. With the youth housing program, they're the transitional housing program. It's going to be an affordable housing program, so we suspect, and again, we'll probably include this in a detailed report on the whole ask, is most likely that will require subsidized rental costs and or supportive housing service programming, depending on the type of program that's going to be delivered, which hasn't been particularly identified right now.
Will you be seeing us using their facilities then as in offices or anything like that, or will it strictly be a YMCA operated situation?
Go ahead, Mina.
Through you, Warden Clark. I don't suspect at this time it'd be very similar to any other third-party housing provider program where an agency would deliver the service, we would fund that service delivery, so their staff would be on site, not county staff.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Your Worship. Appreciate the presentation. Thanks very much, Jill and Todd, for coming in. Avid user of the pool in Midland. Appreciate it very much. One of the best pools in our area, North Simcoe. But I'm not really too familiar with this facility. I assume by the picture there it says it's going to be in the Barrie area. The current infrastructure versus what this is going to replace, and maybe a timeline of how long you feel that this facility will be used in the community. I figured 20, 50, at least 50 years. But just a little bit of background of before and after of where we're going and where we are and where we're going in the future, if I could.
Sure, I can definitely answer that question. Thank you. Through the ward, and I will address that question. So, the building is actually replacing a former YMCA building that was sold in 2020. It was on Grove Street. It was an older building, and we had planned to replace that building for about 15 years. So there was a long-term vision. This particular site is at 535 Bayview Avenue. So if you know where the Sadlin Arena is in the south end, it's in the back end of the parking lot. We do have a 50-year lease on this site with the City of Barrie, with an option to renew the lease for another 10 years. So we do believe that we will be in this building for at least 60 years. And I'm sorry, did I answer that? Oh, so building, we are, I think our chair had mentioned shovel in the ground early, 2025. With our provincial grant, we need to be substantially completed by the end of March of 2027. And our goal is to open the doors late summer, early fall 2027.
Okay, thanks very much. A follow-up, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Just a quick question. So currently you have no facility then? Where are you operating out of in right now?
Currently, we do not have a recreational health and fitness center in Barrie. We have other services that we operate out of the Bayfield Mall. Our newcomer and immigrant services and youth services are operated out of the Bayfield Mall, but we do not have the recreation facility.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
I think Councillor Bell had your card up.
Yeah, my question was answered, but I will make a comment that I do support the YMCA. I think from a very young age, I think I was there when I was 16 volunteering. Our weightlifting room was removed from our high school, so they made space for us. I also worked in a halfway house where they gave us the ability to get some of our clients over to help them with their recovery, and it made a huge impact on their success rate. So I think this is a great program. I always have been a supporter of the YMCA. The numbers have to make sense, I think, when it comes back with the staff report, but I hope that we can support that.
Okay. Councillor Brian Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Madam President, Mr. Chair, for your presentation. Great presentation. Great to see that you're going to be moving forward and have a recreational facility again in the city of Barrie. My question is, you said that you have a 50-year lease and then an option for a further 10 years. I'm assuming that the city of Barrie has some skin in the game here, since this is a large project in the city of Barrie. Can you tell me what they've put into this so far?
Yes, thank you for your question, Mayor Smith. So the City of Barrie has offered us the land we signed a 50-year lease at a nominal fee of $2 a year. We have a lease agreement that is very detailed around how we will work together in managing from a parking perspective, managing events at the Sadlon Arena, so creating agreements with the City of Barrie and how we will work together to provide the programs and services that we provide. So they've been very generous with the lease, and we continue to move forward with the City of Barrie and working through our site plan approval. They're working very closely with us, and our goal is to have our site plan approved by the end of June, which we are very close to doing. So we are on track with our timelines.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you so much for the presentation. I look forward to this build. I think it will help take the pressure off the Innisfil Y, which is getting the Barrie residents that are using the Y right now. My question was very similar to Councillor Smith's. So is there any ask from the City of Barrie for capital contribution and or free planning services like the site plan process? Is there a fee for that, or I guess I'm asking, what is the ask from the city, or what is the ask from the City of Barrie, and what have they committed to?
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mayor Dolan. So we have not asked the city yet. We will be putting in a recommendation to waive our development charges and all of the development fees, which we believe will be favorable with the City of Barrie. We just do not have anything in writing at this point. We also have not had an ask for a capital at this point as well for the build.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Councillor Greenlaw.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. I know you have multiple models with the YMCA as far as operating. So is the operating of this facility being taken over by the City of Barrie, or is it being operated by the YMCA itself?
Thank you for that question, Mayor Greenlaw. The operation of the building will be by the YMCA. So we will own the building, operate it, and manage it. It will be the YMCA building. The only thing that the City of Barrie is involved in right now is just the lease and the lease agreement. So we will lease the land, similar to what we do in Collingwood and in Midland, where we lease the land. We have a 99-year lease agreement with those towns, and we manage and operate and own the building and manage and operate those facilities.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Leduc.
Yes, thank you. Maybe two components, and I'm sure we'll get the report, so maybe I'll be able to answer this question further. But do you know what your capital costs are for the affordable housing, for the youth affordable housing part of that building?
Yes, the capital costs for including any escalation costs and including our contingencies are just over $5 million.
So just over $5 million, okay. And then I would maybe ask that you refer for a longer lease period than 50 years for the City of Barrie, right? That it's a 50-year lease agreement you have?
50-year lease with a 10-year renewal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Hamlin.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Awesome building. Just wondering, what do you see the catchment area for this facility?
That's a great question. Thank you. The catchment area, depending on what services and programs are being offered, because we are looking at this as a regional hub. So regarding, certainly the transitional housing will be the catchment area of Simcoe County. Some of our immigrant and newcomer services will be much broader. Some of our youth services are much broader. I think the members that will come and use the health and wellness facility will be members of the south end of Barrie. However, we do have a lot of I would say Y-friendly members across the City of Barrie who have been Y members for many years and are looking forward to a new site and will come to this new site regardless of where they live in the city of Barrie. I think we may have a few folks that are coming back from other sites that have been used. So some of the members currently within the city of Barrie will go to the Innisfil Y, will go to maybe the Wasaga Beach Y, or even Gravenhurst. So we know that we'll be bringing some of those members back into Barrie. We looked at the south end and the growth in population in the south end of Barrie and believe that this will meet the needs of that population, that growing population.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. A great presentation, and thank you. And I will have a motion. We do consider it a new ask, even though in 2019 I know we approved $2.5 million, but when the project didn't go ahead, we redirected that money to other social housing projects. So no, we didn't leave the money stagnant. So it is a new ask. So I believe Patrick has a motion for us here.
Thank you, Warden. So the wording, my understanding here is that it would be a motion to refer the item to staff. So the motion would be that the request from the YMCA of Simcoe, Muskoka regarding a new YMCA regional hub be referred to staff for consideration and a report back.
Okay, can I have a mover? Alternate Councillor Moore and Councillor Prost. Any other questions for the presenters? All in favor? That is carried, and thank you very much. Very exciting project. Okay, with that, we'll roll into Human Services. Chair Leduc.
Thank you, Warden, and I will welcome our city reps to our Human Services. I have Section 5. We have the consent items. So would anybody like, we have 4 of them on our consent items today. We have the CCW 2024-095, Emergency Shelter Cost Effectiveness Analysis, and we have the revised Simcoe County Emergency Social Services Plan. That's 5.2, 5.3, CCW 2024-177, Emergency Management Provincial Annual Compliance, and 5.4, the draft of Simcoe County Housing Corporation Board Minutes. If you look in the board minutes, if anybody went through them, at the bottom there was our 10-year plan. It's a very ambitious plan. It's $861 million investment over 10 years, and if you can see, one of the recommendations we added in that we look at our master plan priority for development of projects identified. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. We looked at establishing a development and or construction corporation. We're asking the staff to come back with a recommendation of that nature. So just something to point out to you. So would anybody like anything else pulled for further discussion? Councillor Follis, which one?
I just wanted to speak to the reference to, I can get the exact report number here, one moment. It's 5.1, emergency shelter cost effectiveness.
Is it just comments or any change to the recommendation?
Just comments, nothing to change.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks very much. I just wanted to really pick out this paragraph because I thought it was important to speak to when we're talking about affordable housing, and important in the sense to contextualize the value of affordable housing, because often I know some will look at it as we're donating funds, and not necessarily anyone in the chamber, but the public. And really wanted to drive home that there's a good economic benefit to a lot of the affordable housing that we provide, and hopefully more that we provide. So according to published Statistics Canada costs from 2019, the Canadian average for a night in a federal correctional institution, such as that located in Penetang, was $302 per night. Or for the police to bring someone in for a minor infraction for the night in Barrie, the taxpayer pays $1,547 in 2024 for the staff and a bed in a cell. By comparison, access to shelter beds with the goal of permanent supportive housing is financially preferential to unnecessary use of justice programs. It is not uncommon for someone experiencing homelessness to purposely avail themselves of the justice system to avoid inclement weather at night. Then the second paragraph, which is also really worth noting. The Canadian Institute for Health Information was released national, excluding Quebec, information that people experiencing homelessness tend to use more expensive healthcare services, with homelessness hospitalizations costing on average $16,800 versus the national average of $7,800 per stay. That's per stay. 93% of homeless admissions to the hospital are through the emergency room and often with transportation by ambulance. While emergency room visits vary across the county, transportation to the hospital by the county of Simcoe Paramedic Services is at the cost of $206 per hour, raising the total cost per medical intervention and depending on how long the paramedics are engaged. Wraps up by saying the literature and evidence cited above highlight the high costs associated with incarceration and emergency shelter as part of the overall expenses incurred by municipalities and taxpayers due to the disproportionate use by those experiencing homelessness. The comparative analysis indicates that while emergency department visits and police detention serve immediate needs, they do not offer sustainable solutions or address the root causes of homelessness. So I do appreciate everyone in indulging me, and really wanted to bring that paragraph out because of the important information that it alludes to there. So thanks very much.
Thank you. I'm sure we read it, so thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. Okay, I will ask for a mover and a seconder. So I'll ask Councillor Gordon and Councillor Waugh to move and second it. Thank you. So the recommendation is that the following consent items have been given due consideration, be received. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're into Section 6, Human Services, Community Services, Homelessness. So I have 6.1 CCW 2024-163, Community Services, Department Full-Time Enhancements. Can I get a mover? Any questions or concerns with this report? Is shuffling our staff around? Okay, seeing none at this time, I'll ask Councillor Norris and Councillor Bell to move and second it. We're good. Thank you very much. That item, CCW 2024-163, dated June 11, 2024, regarding Community Services Homelessness Department full-time FTE enhancements be received, and the staff proceed with the in-year transfer of 2 full-time equivalent positions, 1 manager and 1 supervisor, from the Social Housing and Ontario Works Departments, respectively, as generally outlined in item CCW 2024-163. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're to Section 7, Land Ambulance Section. We are at 7.1. I will so we have 7.1 here. I'll turn it over to Jane Sinclair to introduce Sarah Mills, please.
Good morning. This next presentation we're very pleased to provide. It coincides with item 7.1, CCW 2024-183, on our external violence against paramedics program. This is definitely a growing area of focus in paramedic service, not just here in the County of Simcoe, but across the entire province. And this is an opportunity to not only create awareness, but to take action, to put supports in place to support our paramedics. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our Director-in-Chief, Sarah Mills, to present. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I really want to start off by saying thank you for allowing us to have the time to speak to you about this today. It's something that's very near and dear to us, very important to paramedics as we move through the future and trying to stop some of the violence that our paramedics experience in their workplace. So this is our External Violence Against Paramedics campaign. This is just a quick overview of some of the history and some of the things we're doing in the future. You'll see the signs across the top. These are some of the outward-facing kind of posters, stickers that are in ambulances, really indicating to the public that there is no excuse for abuse. There's some partnerships there with police forces, and just really getting the message out that that violence exists and that there is no excuse for it. So one of the things that has happened historically, and I actually come from it personally, being in this job for 22 years, is you think that being exposed to this is part of your job, and it's kind of something that you just brush off and you move through, and you don't really pay attention to it. And what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to really eliminate this way of thinking for all of our staff and for the public and for, members of the community and even for some of our, other professionals that we work with. This is not part of our job, and we want to ensure staff understand our commitment to their safety at work. So our staff, for example, so I just have to get my fingers on this. So what is violence against paramedics? So it's been classified into 5 major groups. So violence against paramedics is verbal assault, intimidation, physical assault, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. And this is when we go forward and we are doing more reporting on it, all of the violence that we experience is going to fall into one of these 5 buckets. So we look at the scope of the problem. And I will just start off by saying that this is very seriously underreported. There is some fear out there. There is that old mindset of this is part of the job. Am I going to be supported if I bring this forward? Are police going to support me? Is management going to support me? Am I going to look weak? Is that kind of stigma that goes with it? So it is very, very seriously underreported, but you can see a trend that these are going up exponentially every year, and we actually have a more accurate way and easy way for our staff to report now, and I get a couple of them per week, and it's every range of it, from verbal assault right through to physical and intimidation. So when we look at this, though, when we talk about how our culture has changed, we do know that some of the large majority of our violent experiences are people under the influence of drugs and alcohol. We do know that since the pandemic, the incidence of alcohol and drug use has gone up. Our staff are experiencing more and more conflict with patients and their family, and it becomes actually quite confrontational in some areas. So we really want to draw attention to the correlation between drug and alcohol use and our staff experiencing violence. So some of the things that what they experience is how it impacts our staff is they have lost time. So we do have staff that are physically injured or experience multiple injuries or multiple exposures to violence that leads to increased OSI, so increased time or increase the likelihood that they'll go off with an operational stress injury. Physical injuries, and I'm going to bring you back to one of our staff members later in the presentation that actually has experienced physical injuries that have resulted in lost time. Safety concerns that lead to fear and anxiety, burnout, turnover, impact on personal life. So it impacts their family life. It impacts their ability to sleep. It impacts their ability, once they're out of the workforce, it actually impacts their fear and anxiety and their safety concerns about coming back. So they actually have a lot of anxiety about coming back to the workforce after they've been off. Decreased job satisfaction and emotional and psychological trauma. So anxiety, depression, PTSD, higher incidence of operational stress injury. So Peel Paramedics have kicked this off in the province in 2019, and they surveyed all of their staff. And this staff survey is it's not in a year timeframe; it's in a career. So 98% of their staff reported experiencing verbal abuse in their career. 86% reported experiencing intimidation, and so on. 80% with physical assault. 62% was sexual harassment, and 14% was sexual harassment. So our staff when we looked at the statistics and we started looking at the trending, our staff are within a 1 to 5% ratio of experiencing this in their career. So, and kind of as Jane mentioned, bringing that back, this is not something that is inherent to Simcoe County. It is experienced all over the world. It is experienced it is a very, very big global issue. And in places like Australia, 70% of their staff have reported experiencing verbal or physical assault. In England, nearly 2/3 of the paramedics report being subject to violence or aggression. Over 50% in Germany have encountered violence. US and Canada, most EMS providers are reporting that the numbers are steadily increasing. So it is something that is now becoming more reported and is now becoming more prevalent, and people are starting to say no to it and starting to really draw a boundary around what is acceptable behavior. So the benefits of our EVAP program. So it's, we aim to build, to provide better patient care. So when paramedics feel safe and supported, they can focus more on providing high quality care to our community. Community impact. So by protecting our paramedics, we show our commitment to the well-being of our community because most of our staff live here. We want to build goodwill and trust in the public. We want to foster a positive work culture, enhance our reputation for protecting our staff and demonstrating our commitment to the safety and well-being of our staff, legal and financial benefits when it comes to lost time, enhance safety for them, so giving them the ability to feel safer at work, reduced absenteeism and turnover, and improved morale and job satisfaction. So those are all known benefits of a program like this. We look at strategies for prevention. So when we look at the services out there and what they've used globally and what they've used in the province of Ontario, we have some different strategies that we're presenting. So de-escalation training. So we have some very specialized training that our staff have, we've trained the trainer on, and they are going to be presenting to all of our staff in the fall. And it's about getting yourself out and recognizing dangerous situations. Reviewing the response from police, so making sure that police, when we call for them, are coming. Public information campaign, again, bringing the awareness out to the public. Enhanced mental health support through our benefits and through our programs with NPS, or paramedic services. Continuous review of best practices, introduction of tools to protect staff, so it's different pieces of safety equipment, and awareness and encouragement for reporting. So that's a big one, is making our staff feel comfortable to report and really encouraging it through the support of our supervisors. And some of the work to date. So this is what CSPS has done to date. So we've had our information kickoff sessions. So we have actually an EVAP working group, which is comprised of myself and Deputy Chief Herview and Deputy Chief Shane Smith, as well as members of our frontline staff, and they are going to help guide how this program evolves in our service. We meet with police services regularly to help them understand how their response, or if they're not responding, how that impacts our staff. Instructor training for our staff. So as I just mentioned, we have this very specialized de-escalation training and situational awareness training that is going to be rolling out to all of our frontline staff in the fall. Improved reporting tools. So again, we have our MDocs and our Park Lane. So in our Park Lane gives all the information needed should they lose time through WSIB. Health and safety review of all of our safety equipment, and working with communications and Service Simcoe on some public messaging. And then we also have Bill C20 or C321, and that is actually, I'm just going to read it kind of verbatim because it's pretty intricate, but it's a private member's bill to amend the criminal code to require a court to consider the fact that the victim of an assault is a person who provides health services or a first responder to be an aggravating circumstance for the purpose of sentencing. So it's to amend the criminal code to include assaults against persons who provide health services and first responses. So to help better protect us when it comes to criminally pursuing these types of assaults. And is actually sitting right now in the consideration Senate, or in the consideration and committee stage of the Senate. So it's actually gone through its first, second, third reading, and then now it's first and second reading in the Senate. So it's we're waiting for it to get passed. It's something that will help all first responders everywhere be part of being protected in the criminal code. And this is shared with permission. So this is actually one of our staff members. So her name's Deetra, and she in 2020 experienced an incident where she had a patient bite her and lock onto her arm. And it actually caused muscle and skin damage, resulting in a permanent scar. And from there, Deetra, and she'll widely talk about this, she started to feel a decline at work. She started becoming angry. She started experiencing the effects of PTSD and anxiety and depression. And so after another incident with another couple of calls, she ended up losing time. We lost her for quite some time out of the workplace until she could have the supports to come back. And because of the scar that's left on her arm, it's very triggering for her. She actually has a full tattoo on her arm now to cover it so she isn't reminded of it every day. And this is someone's mother and someone's wife and someone's daughter. And these are the type of stories that we want to take forward to protect our staff from in the future. So with that, the goals of this EVAP program are to create a supportive culture, inform the public, and encourage the support of the public, eliminate incidents of violence against paramedics. So we know that it's never going to stop, but what we want to do is give people better tools in their toolbox to handle them and recognize them and get themselves out of those situations if and when they occur. Encourage reporting, help build a model that can be used across the corporation. So when we brought this to General Manager Sinclair, we had some conversations that this isn't something that is unique to paramedic services. This is experienced in long-term care. It is experienced in our roads department. It is experienced all over the corporation in different ways. So how can we adapt this program to actually better support the entire corporation and the services we provide? And so we also want to enhance our equipment policy and other safety measures to help protect our staff. So some of the key messaging is just, the County of Simcoe stands firm. Violence and harassment have no place in our workplace. We are an employer committed to ensuring a safe, respectful environment for all. And when our paramedics face violence or harassment, we stand by them and they have our full support. And that's very, very important that for them to know is that we support them. And that's it. Just any questions?
Warden, I'll turn it over to the Warden.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for bringing this forward. When you think of violence, for paramedics, you think of somebody with a head injury that, may not be acting in a way they would normally act. But I really do want to stress this is not part of the job. And that's the message we really need to get out there. Violence towards the paramedics is completely unacceptable. You're there to save lives, not to break up barroom fights, not to break up road rage incidents. And I hope people will bring it forward and report it. I hope the police will take it seriously. But more importantly, our court system needs to start taking this seriously. 40 years ago, you couldn't claim, well, I was drunk, so I didn't know what I'm doing. That's not a defense. Violence is violence, and you have to be held accountable for your actions. So thank you for bringing it forward. We really need to drive this message home that the ambulance is there to save lives, all our paramedics, firefighters. They should not be dealing with somebody that's unruly, and it's time our court system really started taking this seriously as we do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warden, for those comments, and I'll ask others for comments. So far on my list, I have Councillor Smith, Councillor Sandu, Councillor Measures, Councillor Dolan. I will go to Smith first. Next, Councillor Fryer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Sarah, for this presentation. I read this last night, and I was shocked and appalled. We all know that paramedics, first responders, roads crew, as Sarah says, and other members in our employ face violence of different levels all the time. But I was shocked and appalled by the number and the increase that we're seeing. And it was good to hear that this is now in the Senate. And I guess my question and concern is that it's great that it's in the Senate, but is there going to be penalties applied to this that are going to make it worthwhile, or is it just going to be another law that is there and the courts, to his worship's point, are not enforcing or not dealing with? And so I would propose that we write whatever we have to write, send whatever letters of support we have to send, and that in that we include that there needs to be significant penalties to this so as that people get the message, because this is totally unacceptable. And I commend Sarah and your team for all the great work you do, as well as the rest of our first responders and the rest of the staff here at the county and in our municipalities. But, Your Worship, I don't know what the answer is here or how we help to push this forward, but I think the penalty for assaulting first responders has to be significant. And again, to your point, the courts need to enforce it and not just take it lightly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, for those words. Comments?
So one of the things we are working with the police services, and we're interesting that we don't have just one. We have Barrie, we have Simcoe, we have the OPP, and 3 detachments at that. So we are working with our police services to have them respond when our staff are experiencing violence and pursuing charges. So I think historically there was some hesitancy to pursue charges from the police side of it. And with the support of a bill like this, the hesitancy, I think, is a little bit decreased. But a lot of it is up to creating those relationships, and we have some really good relationships with our police forces as it stands. And so I think that, although I can't predict what's going to happen in the future, that's some important steps that we're making to secure that.
Supplemental?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, in the criminal code today, there's assault, there's different types of assault, but there's also assault of a police officer, which has somewhat of an escalated level of penalty because you ought to know you shouldn't be assaulting a police officer. I would think that there needs to be that type of charge where it's assault a first responder or a paramedic, where it has an escalated penalty to it.
And that's what the bill will do, is treat it as assault of a peace officer. So it'll have a bit more of a weight to it.
So thank you for that clarification. I've got Councillor Sandhu next.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Mills, thanks for your presentation. I knew we always had this issue because I have a family member that's a paramedic. What surprised me is our internal stats of what's reported to us, because I believe it's a lot higher, as you mentioned, that it doesn't get reported. I fully support this campaign, but I also think, apart from having a public awareness campaign, we need to have a campaign with our staff to report these out. You're right, and Councillor Smith is right. This charge has to be similar to what it is for the police officers if you assault a police officer. And people need to realize that behind that uniform is a human being just like all of us, and they're there to save life. And I know there are situations sometimes that there might be mental health issues and all that, but there should be no excuse, and there should be penalties for that. And thank you for doing what you do for public.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Measures.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief, for your presentation. It is a troubling presentation, but I'm very glad that you brought it forward for us to consider. And I do support what Councillor Smith was saying, that we do need to support perhaps a letter through his worship to the Senate, and perhaps we can support this recommendation. I do have a question about the status today and how we help protect our paramedics today. I'd just like you to consider that in the policing world, they have a very robust system of flagging addresses and or flagging individuals for potential cautions to the police officer responding, whether it be for violence, weapons, escape, these type of things. And also in policing, the police officer, through their sergeant, can attach that to the address without having to go through a court system. They just attach that information. And is that something that we can do, or that you and your staff and our first-line paramedics can do? And would that be something we can roll out with the, with the CAD program, as one of our crews are being dispatched to an address, that would get an advisement that we've had an incident here in the past?
So yes, we do. Thank you for that question. Yes, we do have the ability to flag addresses in our dispatch system. So we can, it goes through our operations. We get a hold of our CAC because we don't own that, so that's separate. We fill out some information, send it in, and they actually flag that address for us. Okay. There are other measures. So there's with unhoused. People that are like we've experienced violence with, there's actually some measures in other municipalities that, much like the police, there's like a warning picture, a picture of the person and saying like, do not approach, history of violence, that type of thing. And those are actually tagged up in their stations. So we're looking at solutions like that. So we do the flagging currently. We're looking at solutions for people that we can't, that don't have a residence that we can flag. And those flags have to be, we have to refresh them every year. So to make sure, because if they move or, something like that, but we go through that system annually to make sure that those are up to date.
Thank you. A supplemental, Mr. Chair. I know too, thank you for that answer, and I'm glad to hear that there is something there to protect them. I also know that our paramedic team, as a specialized team for, they call it a mass event team, that may deal with violent occurrences that are, extrapolated into something really tragic. I'm wondering, that team does get trained in a little bit of self-defense and self-protection. Is that something that we could roll out to all of our crews so that they have a level of knowledge and skills on self-protection?
Yeah, thank you for that as well. So that's the training that I was mentioning. So the training, so what we did is we sent 8 of our staff to Peel, and we had a company come in called SetCan. Yeah. And what they do is they do situational awareness and de-escalation training. And it's been rolled out in a few other services, and by far and wide, it's the best training that our service has received in order to help make them prepared for situations like that. For example, when you come into a room, it's paramedics can get themselves into situations quickly because they're busy and they're focused on something else. But then all of a sudden your back's, you're not near a door, or you've trapped yourself in a corner. So that's what this training is all about. And our entire staff, including the specialty team that you're talking about, is getting that training come the fall. And it's going to roll out over like 8 weeks, I believe, or 9 weeks.
All right.
So,
well, thank you very much. And thanks for all you're doing.
All right, thank you for that. I have Councillor Dolan.
Thank you so much, Chief Mills, for the presentation. Not to minimize what the paramedics are going through, but it's societal today. Whether you're in a McDonald's or a doctor's office, there's signs everywhere saying we will not support abuse. And I think that's really important, not only because of Deetra's story and the emotional impact of it, but also for recruitment. There was a day when we needed an experienced or recruiting police officers. It was easy. We had, dozens of applicants for one job. Now, who wants to do that job when they face the violence that they could face? So as far as recruitment, it is also an issue. I wondered with any of the data that Peel did or that we did, was there any indication where male versus female, if there's a difference in the violence behavior? We know female politicians put up with more violence and threats than male politicians, and I just wondered if it was the same with paramedics.
No, so that Mark Pickard is heading up our EVAP program as well from a supervisor, and he there's no real trending that we've picked up so far, but the people that come forward to me personally are predominantly female. So that's, I could speak to that, but that's anecdotal kind of from a data standpoint.
Thank you for those comments. I have Councillor Fryer, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Gordon next.
Thank you, Chair Leduc, and most of my thoughts and comments are covered with the comments of the other councillors. So I'll just like to pass on thank you to Chief Mills and for bringing this forward and having the everyone in mind. You're talking about the support for other staff that not just the paramedic service, but you shouldn't have to go through this, and it needs to be taken care of. So again, appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fryer. I have Councillor McDonald and Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Chair Leduc. Thank you, Chief Mills. This is getting to be across every walk of life, and it's actually very sad. And you say that you don't have even all the calls or all these incidents reported. Was there ever any thought? I know that that some areas, and I know more in the States maybe, but the police actually have cameras, and that would be allowed. It wouldn't have to be reported. It is already reported on a camera when they go to things on their body. And I just wondered if that was anyone. And I love that all the messages that you had on your screens, and it should be started in public school. I'm telling you, we have more calls for abuse in the schools, and then you're thinking little children, they're going to grow up to be, you could be bullies because they were bullied or whatever works out. But I mean, this is a message that needs to go across every walk of life. And I want to say thank you very much for your service and all of your team, and of course, Jane St. Clair for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to comment?
Yeah, so all safety equipment is being explored. So we have talked about body cams. We've talked about level 1 vests, like just for some of these vests can prevent stabbings or low caliber guns. So we're trying to explore all avenues for safety for our staff, keeping in mind privacy, things like that with body cams. I know police have them, but they don't necessarily deal with the sensitive medical stuff that we deal with. So we're working through some of that, and we'll continue to really put things forward. General Manager Sinclair is extremely supportive of everything we bring forward, and so anything that we find that is, it's got the data behind it and it is providing safety for our staff, we will definitely bring to her and look for that partnership there. So,
General Manager Sinclair, you want to comment, or did you want a further comment, or was it's good? Okay, so I've got Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Chair, through you. It's a good report. It's a sad report. It's something I've witnessed many, many times in my decades of working with the police. And we're not just talking about somebody who's got a head injury, who's going to be struggling while you try to get them, positioned and secured on the gurney and maybe a bit combative. These are like actually assaultive things. So what I'm hoping, and maybe you don't know this off the top of your head, but I'm assuming, I'd like to believe that when there is actually an assault that goes beyond just simply a resistive patient for whatever reason, whether it's, mental health issues or an addiction or, as I said, a head injury or things that can make you combative, are the courts dealing with these differently? I know you don't have the protections that a peace officer does under the criminal code for assaults, but have the courts typically been in their pre-sentence report or, in doling out their sentences, are they taking an attack against first responders and paramedics seriously? Like, is that being factored into the sentencing, or have they been treating you like, just like the public, what a good Samaritan who, got a punch in the nose, which is a different story than, a first responder being assaulted while they're trying to help the person. Just wondering if the courts have been dealing with this properly for you.
So one of the reasons this actually got pushed through, and there was some advocacy for us to bring it to, to get a bill passed and to get us added to be protected under the criminal code, is that it wasn't taken very seriously, and there was a hesitancy actually for police departments to even to offer to charge someone. So with this passing of this bill, it will be, it is thought to be that there will be similar charges to assaulting a peace officer, but I think historically it hasn't, I think it's dependent, but it historically hasn't been overly aggressive when it comes to how they're treated in the court system.
Yep, supplementary.
I fully support this change to give you the protections, but until that happens, and we know that the wheels of that level of government are squared off sometimes and don't turn very quickly, I definitely encourage all of your responders, even if they're not seeing the successes in court, to take the time to put the victim impact statements in that the courts needs, and really just push the Crown attorneys to make sure that those victim impact statements are read for the sentencing considerations. So, if it is downplayed in the police report, which I'd really truly like to believe they don't, but if it is, then it'll come to light in the sentencing side of it, and the judge will take that into consideration and then, hopefully dole out a deterrent penalty that, matches the severity of the assault.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Excellent. Comments?
Oh, do you want to comment? Just thank you for those comments. This is early days in this program. Sarah and her team have been very progressive in rolling out this, so we will continue to monitor and provide updates to County Council in future. We appreciate all the comments and certainly all the support from County Council. Very much appreciated for our staff.
Yes, thank you. So I'd like to comment too. Thank you so much, General Manager St. Clair and Chief Mills, for bringing this forward. It seems to be a very common theme, just returning from FCM. Not only homelessness and housing are major issues across our country, so is harassment and violence. And FCM passed two major resolutions that were dealing with harassment. We included staff and family members. 5 Quebec mayors have resigned because of harassments from people, and we also passed an intimate violence what is it?
Interim control bylaw.
No. The IPV. Intimate partner violence. Sorry, I had a mental blank there for a second. So this is just something that is out there, it's prevalent, and it's right across our country. It's coast to coast to coast with all this going on. So good to see us there. You have our full support, 100%. So I'm going to move a mover and a seconder for this. We're going to have an amendment. I've got them already selected. We'll put the amendment on the floor, and I'm looking forward to a unanimous support of this motion moving forward. So I have Councillor Evans to move, and Councillor Rittma to second. Great, and you have an amendment to the motion. Can we put that up on the screen?
Thank you, Councillor Leduc. That would just take one moment.
And Councillor Evans, I'll get him to read the motion after you put it up.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate that.
So the addition to the recommendation would be that the warden send a letter to the Senate regarding Bill C-321 in support of reducing assaults against persons who provide health services and first responders, and to advocate for expanded penalties where charges are pursued.
Okay, you good with the amendment?
I am. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So that is the new motion on the floor, and it's moved by Evans and seconded by Rittma. So questions or concerns with this? Councillor Dolan?
I'm sorry, Chair, just procedurally, the original recommendation, this is an additional...
This is an addition, yes.
Additional paragraph,
Yes.
Thank you.
So we'll vote on the amendment, the motion as amended, then we'll come back and vote on the original motion. Okay, so all in favor of the amended motion? Hold your hands up high so we can make sure that we see it's actual unanimous. Thank you very much. Then I will ask that we go back and read the motion that the item CCW 2024-183 dated June 11, 2024 regarding the paramedic services external violence against paramedics EVAP campaign be received, and that the warden send a letter to the Senate regarding Bill C-321 in support of reducing assaults against persons who provide health services and first responders, and to advocate for expanded penalties where charges are pursued. Okay, we'll vote on the whole motion. All in favor? Again, let's see, unanimous up. Excellent, thank you, unanimous. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for that. We are moving into Human Services Emergency Management, Section 8. 8.1, I have CCW 2024-178, Emergency Management Program Review. Question concerns with this report? Seeing none, I'll ask Alternate Councillor Moore and Councillor Sonder, Alternate Councillor Sonder to move it. Second to move it. Thank you. That item CCW 2024-178 dated June 11, 2024 regarding emergency management program review be received, and that staff develop options for enhanced emergency management support and report back to council for their consideration as generally outlined in item CCW 2024-178. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're into section 9, other matters for consideration. Does anybody have any other matters for consideration? At this point in time, seeing none, I turn it back to you, Warden.
Thank you. And while our city reps are leaving, why don't we take a break till 10:30, and then we'll come back with a short waste management discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, city reps, don't leave. I'm sorry, we have section 9 that I didn't get to. So we'll have a break.
We'll do it at 10:30.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. If we could wrestle everybody in out of the other room. We'll reconvene, and I'll turn the chair back over to Councillor Leduc.
All right, thank you, Warden, and I apologize for that confusion on my behalf. We are into Section 9. Sorry, Section 9 is the Children's Services, Social Housing. I have report. I have Municipal Representatives of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee report June 4th. So I have minutes of the Municipal Representatives of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee June 4th report. Can I have it moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Greenlaw? You okay? Question or concerns with the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. On to 9.2, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee again. I have that the recommendations contained within the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee report dated June 4, 2024 be approved. May I have it moved by Councillor Corbell and seconded by Councillor Fowler? Questions or concerns with that? Councillor Follis. And then I'll go Councillor Gordon next. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Thanks. Just through the chair, this came up during the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting because we do talk, during the meeting we talked a lot about the 10-year plan for affordable housing and what some of the builds were that the county was looking at. I know in my head I see that there's definitely an opportunity for us to be more ambitious. How would we go about that, or what does that look like, I guess? And I'll put that to Mina. Thanks.
I'll turn that to our General Manager, Mina.
Mayor Leduc, thanks for the question, Councillor Fallis. Again, the 10-year affordable homelessness and housing, homelessness prevention and affordable housing strategy is part and parcel of a development plan, a creation of more affordability, and a plan to prevent homelessness. The part that was discussed at the board meeting, at the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting, was the response from the RFP that we had put out to the municipalities and the request for information that we had put out to private developers and nonprofits to demonstrate the feasibility of creating more affordable housing over the next 10 years based on those responses. And we weighed and scored the best proposals and the best offers of contributions from the municipalities. So thank you very much for everyone who put forward a contribution. That gets us to a unit count of what we can create, like actually develop. But thereafter, if you look at the last 10-year affordable homelessness and housing prevention strategy, we created through rent supplement programs, housing allowance programs, Canada-Ontario housing benefit programs. So those are also ways to create more affordability, as well as all the different programs we've done to prevent homelessness by preventing evictions, housing retention funding. So short answer is yes, we could be more ambitious, but money is a factor and financing. And our position is to present what we can do versus the ambition level will depend on how much is contributed equally from federal and provincial matching dollars. And not dissimilar to other service managers who have presented their 10-year strategy that way, saying we could build up to 3,000 units. However, in order to get there, we would need this much more from each order of government. So this was the first step to quantify what is our actual ability versus our ambitious goals, and then thereafter design a strategy to engage those order of governments on both numbers to see how they'd contribute.
Thanks, Mina. Just a quick follow-up. Will we be quantifying our ambitious goal then, if this is kind of what we see as maybe what we I guess is seen as reasonable. If we're looking more ambitious, are we going to develop that more? When would we get a sense for that? Thanks.
Through the chair, it will depend on the guidance from the province. So another part of the 10-year affordable housing and homelessness prevention strategies, they have to be approved by the province with a set of guidelines. The province has actually instructed all service managers to hold on putting forward their plan or passing it now, as the way we would have contemplated doing it, which would have been actual goal versus ambitious number. And they're probably going to give us more guidance on what to count towards that goal, like what types of housing, how do you get there, what types of funding is available. So we will wait to see what the province tells us they're looking for in the plan and make sure we're aligned. And then thereafter, we can then demonstrate how we're going to hit our targets and our measures for the next 10 years.
Okay, thank you so much. Further comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on the 9.3 Simcoe County Housing Alliance update. I'll turn it over to our General Manager, Jane St. Clair, to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair Leduc. If I may, just provide a very quick overview of this report, particularly for those council members who are newer to their position and might not have the full background of the Simcoe County Hospital Alliance policy. So just to provide that context, this policy has been in place literally decades. I think the original formal policy started in 2002. Prior to the current 15-year commitment, the county contributed $42 million plus the current 45, close to $90 million. And there were contributions by the County of Simcoe to hospitals even before the formalized policy came into place. So it's really been in place for a very long time. The policy itself includes all of our local hospitals, including Waypoint Center for Mental Health Care and Southlake. And Southlake, there is criteria set out in the policy that they must provide a minimum of 20% of inpatient and emergency care to residents within the county. So there is very specific criteria. The policy also lays out that there's a fixed amount, $3 million per year. That $3 million per year was set by County Council. That is your recommendation, Council's recommendation. And the policy was originally set out so that there's one single mechanism for all member municipalities to support our local hospitals, to prevent duplication, to prevent hospitals going to the local municipalities, coming to the county, to really streamline the processes. And so the criteria really sets out, this is the single mechanism for all of our all our partner hospitals to seek additional funding for capital. There is a caveat, small local fundraising events, local municipalities can participate, but in terms of any capital asks, they are to be filtered through this policy. And in fact, we have had over the years conversations from time to time just to remind our partner hospitals of the policy and the correct process. And the other piece that I'll just clarify is the capital expenses themselves, and it can range from redevelopments of hospitals, large redevelopments or new builds, to funding capital equipment such as CT scans or MRI equipment. So there's really a broad range within the policy itself. And finally, as part of the policy, one of the commitments from the hospitals is subject to approval each year. There is always a celebration and event that they will host with media invited to, share this partnership and let our constituents know the contributions towards the capital planning. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to provide that overview for county councillors. The report itself contains the request for the 2023 amount, provides some planning, capital planning updates, membership on the various committees, which is also part of the Hospital Alliance, that they must have a county councillor as a member either on the board or a committee of the board. And then it contains some recommendations for long-term 2040 planning for council's consideration. Thank you, Chair Leduc.
Thank you, General Manager St. Clair. Further comments or questions on this report? It's a pretty in-depth report. Councillor Follis.
Thanks. Just a brief question. I was curious, how has the Alliance itself had an opportunity to weigh in on the report and add reflection to it? Thanks.
General Manager.
Through you, Chair Leduc. We meet collectively, all of the Alliance members and myself, regularly throughout the year. We review the policy, we review the amounts, and so all of the amounts over the current 15-year commitment, for example, were actually part of a collaborative process and recommended by the group in its entirety to county councils for their consideration. So yes, they have approved all recommendations.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. No more further comments or questions? I will ask then that moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor Follis. We're in agreement. Thank you. So that item CCW 2024-104 dated June 11, 2024 regarding the Simcoe County Housing Hospital Alliance update be received, and that the 2023 capital funding be provided to the Stevenson Memorial Hospital and the Georgian Bay General Hospital subject to the terms and conditions outlined in item CCW 2024-104, and that staff engage a consultant funded by the accrued interest within the County of Simcoe Hospital Alliance Reserve to conduct a review of the long-term capital needs of the Simcoe County Hospital Alliance members as generally outlined in CCW 2024-104. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, now I'll ask for other matters of consideration also again here. All right, seeing none. Warden, it is my time to turn it back to you.
Thank you, and thank you, City Reps. I'm glad I caught you before you got away, though I was getting some strange looks when I told them they could leave earlier. So thank you. I will turn it over to Chair Dolan for Corporate Services.
Thank you. Thank you, Warden. So we're on item 10, which is the Corporate Services consent item. There's one of them today, which is the update on the streamlining of county planning approvals, and I would ask if there's any questions or comments or revisions to the recommendation. Seeing none, could I please ask for a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Fryer, seconded by Councillor Fowler, that item CCW, oops, sorry, wrong one, that the following consent item having been given due consideration be received. All those in favor? That is carried. Next is item 11, which is CCW 2024-170. It's the Municipal Comprehensive Review and Growth Management Strategy Update. And I'm going to ask GM Elliott if he has any. I understand there's been some updates since the agenda was printed.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Dolan. I'd actually like to introduce our Chief Planner, Nathan Westendorp, to come down and speak to some of the changes that are occurring when it comes to land use planning in Ontario, particularly as related to the Municipal Comprehensive Review. Council might recall, and as outlined in the report, the Phase 1 of our Municipal Comprehensive Review was approved by this council in August of 2022. So the ministry has been sitting on that for quite some time, but lots of work has been undertaken in the meantime without that approval from the ministry. But I'd like for Nathan to speak to some of the highlights of this report.
Thank you, GM Elliott, and through you, the Chair. This report has been a long time coming. In August of 2022, as GM Elliott referenced, this county council made one of its most important, if not the biggest decision in the history, in the recent history of growth management planning in this county, and made a decision to what's known as allocate population and employment growth to each of the 16 local municipalities. It's not an easy decision, and I'm sure the Council of the Day took it very seriously, and we've been waiting for the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to be able to move forward with it. Why the wait? So just before I get into the where we are right now, I'd like to give you a bit of a window into the past. The Municipal Comprehensive Review is required by the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe for upper tiers to conduct growth management planning. In the County of Simcoe, that's an interesting project which originally started back in 2017. So it's been 7 years of this long journey. There was a pause because there were updates to the growth plan, and then it started with renewed focus a few years later, and in 2022, Council made the decision to allocate the forecast for the population and employment. The reason why that matters in terms of the progress for the rest of the MCR, and when we talk about the MCR, we're talking about where growth goes. It's not about how much land you have to grow on. It's also about how much you're forecasted to grow. So sometimes some municipalities and some settlement areas have more than enough, and that's great. You're well planned. But some municipalities, based on forecasts, need a little bit of extra, especially in some settlement areas that are forecasted to be considerable magnets of growth. In the County of Simcoe, we have 93 settlement areas. So you can imagine that if you were to take population and employment forecasts and try to figure out without any element of certainty about how the pie is divided up into 16 pieces, there's many, many different scenarios and permutations. That's why we needed clarity from the province. Are we on the right track? Is the way that we calculated the population and employment forecast, and from this point on, I'll just call it the growth forecast. Did we do it right? Because the province had a very prescriptive approach to how we did it. Shortly after County Official Plan number 7, which is the representative of the phase 1 of our MCR, and that's the piece where we updated some policies, especially pertaining to where growth should go. We provided a settlement area hierarchy amongst 93 settlement areas across the county. There needs to be a gradient and a spectrum of about where growth should go, and which municipalities and also their settlement areas are best poised to be able to accommodate larger amounts of growth, medium growth, and then perhaps some slower growth by severance or by small lot development. Shortly after, in November of 2022, Bill 23 was released. And then after that, you'll remember last year, the proposed PPS 2023 was also released. And then Bill 109. And then we had Bill 185, and most recently we had the new PPS 2024. You can imagine that within the planning world, it's been a little unsettling because we're used to planning for a target, and when the target keeps moving, it's very difficult to use the taxpayers' well-earned money and forge forward. So we've been prudently forging forward with the elements of the MCR that we're able to. So part of the MCR is about growth. That's correct, and I'll get to that in a second. But there's some other elements that are related to climate change, watershed planning, green lands, and agricultural. So in terms of climate change, we have completed the land use community climate change strategy for the county and what that does, and that's attached to Schedule 3 to this report. What that does is it sets a policy stage for the county and its local municipalities to look at how climate change mitigation and adaptation can be worked into land use decisions. With 16 municipalities, how climate change is dealt with across 16 municipalities is very unique to each community, and we appreciate that and each council's direction to pursue their objectives accordingly. But we believe that we've provided a decent starting point from a county official plan policy perspective, as well as we've gone one step further and provided some suggested policies that Local municipalities that might be somewhat resource strapped can take our policies and either adopt them into their local official plan or modify them or adapt them accordingly at their leisure. But the intent behind it is to provide a baseline, a foundation for both the county and local municipalities to look how we leverage development, especially with all the considerable growth amounts that are coming our way. How we can leverage that into some successes with regards to climate change mitigation and adaptation. The other pieces are related to the greenlands and agricultural mapping. You'll remember the former term natural heritage mapping, and the provinces had identified natural heritage mapping a few years ago, and we were working through that and what's the difference between that and the county's greenlands designation. Suffice it to say, it created a lot of confusion. With the new policy direction that we feel the province is going, we'll be back to one set of mapping. That's the county's greenlands mapping, and we're happy with that. And we've been doing some background work with our consultant, North South Environmental, to be able to do a comprehensive update to the county's greenlands mapping. What that update will do is give us all the tools, not only here at the county, but the local municipalities. Why is an area on the map identified green? Is it a significant woodland? Is it a wetland? Is it a significant wildlife habitat? All of the above or a combination thereof. And understanding the why behind the mapping is very helpful as a land use planner when you're communicating to residents and landowners about why the importance of protecting that. Is there always agreement across all sides of the table? Perhaps not, but at least then we can understand the why and we can start the conversation on a solid note. So we look forward to some public consultation with yourselves and with local planners, as well as with the public and stakeholders as the summer proceeds and into the fall. And the first piece on the greenlands is going to be a technical consultation. So this is what we're doing with the mapping, and that includes LiDAR, which is basically a plane flying overhead. That the province of Ontario has already done that. And so we're using the LiDAR mapping to have a better understanding of what's on the ground, and using that digital mapping to be able to better assess why areas are green and then make the refinements. So the first piece, like I said, is the technical mapping. There's going to be consultations to help people better understand what we're protecting, as well as why. Sometimes and very often it's provincial policy that compels us to do so. And then just it gives all parties involved an understanding of where we're going and how we arrive there. The second component of the project will be related to policy. There will be a policy directions report that will come forward to this House saying these are our options with regards to the policy approaches that we can take to protecting the natural heritage in the greenlands areas that we feel and we are compelled to protect. And that, again, will have a consultation process as well as a mapping process. That mapping process is ultimately you'll see as a designation that it's applied to the ground on Schedule 5.1 of the County OP. The reason why you haven't seen the agricultural mapping go forward is because there are elements when you look at the refinements of the agricultural mapping or when you look at the refinements of the greenlands mapping, there are little holes and slivers that are created. And so until we have a better understanding of where the greenlands need to be, then it's very difficult to understand where the agricultural needs to be and vice versa. So suffice it to say, the consultation will be robust, not only with residents and developers and our local partners, but also with the development community and the agricultural community. Going back to growth, so with all the upset in the land use planning regime. Some of the changes that the province has proposed has been well-intentioned to try to streamline what we know as the housing system. How do we get what we know should be a developable piece of property through the development process faster, more efficiently, but also just as confidently as we did in years past? And so please do not misinterpret the delay on the MCR as the county's resistance to everything proposed by the province. However, it has complicated the MCR project. So going forward, we see the elements of the growth project or the growth management piece going forward with regards to settlement area boundary expansions. And there's some municipalities that through our work last year and the year before, going through the province's criteria of how to identify which communities need to grow, there's some municipalities that need to expand their settlement areas. So we are having conversations with them, and we've really developed two streams of how to go through that settlement area boundary expansion work. Stream one is what we believe and what we call the locally led. So some of those municipalities, town of New Tecumseh, town of Innisfil, town of Bradford, they have planned their resources accordingly to be able to take on a heavier load with regards to some of the analysis and some of the consultation that's associated with how to pick the properties that need to be added to the settlement areas. The other option, which we call Stream 2, is just the same partnership. It's just the county provides a little more resources to be able to lead the project a little bit more. Often that's in the form of administrative support, public engagement, and a few more analysis. So why do we need a partnership rather than some other approaches that are done in some other upper tiers? Well, simply put, because that's a successful pattern that Simcoe County has approached in the past. We've always done planning through a partnership, and I think our delegations of subdivision and condominium approval over the last 20 years have been a successful example of that. More importantly, when you look at growth, growth doesn't just mean houses. It means pipes, it means schools, it means community facilities, it means fire halls, it means everything that supports those houses. And often the community knows the best, so we'd like the local municipality to be very well involved in the consultation side of that, but also the pipes and the servicing that's involved in those growth decisions can be they come at a high significant cost. And so infrastructure planning right now is of top of mind for everyone in the growth sector, just because of the sheer escalation and costs associated with infrastructure. And so as a result, one of the requirements of an MCR is that a fiscal impact analysis is done. So how do you do a fiscal impact analysis at the county level in isolation without understanding the costs associated with option 1, option 2, or option 3? Do we put the pipes here? There is a reservoir required. What about a pump station? So that is why that partnership is very intrinsically important to the success of our growth management work. We need to have an understanding both locally and at the county level of the financial impact of the decisions that we'll make for our settlement area boundary expansions. So after the preparation of this report, and it's a timely report, it's been a long time coming, like I said, we received correspondence from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Let me be clear, we received the correspondence after this report was prepared. And they have taken a look at COPA 7, and they have suggested some modifications. We don't know the full rationale of those modifications, and we will be meeting, we hope to be meeting with the ministry in the next couple of weeks to better understand their rationale. And we are meeting with our consulting team as well as the impacted municipalities over the next couple of weeks. We've already scheduled some, and we're in the midst of scheduling others as we speak. The reason why is because we want to have a firm understanding of the implications and the considerations associated with the changes that they're suggesting. It's too early to make any decisions or come to any conclusions on them. That's why we're having many conversations about the generalities associated with various changes that could be made to COPA 7. What opportunities does it provide, but also what implications does it suggest, and how do we navigate that? We are appreciative of the ministry's offer to meet and discuss, and we will take them up on that. In fact, I have taken them up on that, and we're in the midst of scheduling as well. So that is the update that General Manager Elliott referred to. Like it has been in the last several years, the planning world is always dynamic, and you'd think that the planning world is given the legislation involved, is one of the most stable, but it's never a dull moment. And if we have any updates post those discussions with the municipalities as well as post discussions with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We will be coming back to this House on June 25th, if need be, for further discussion. So with that, I'll hand it back to the chair if there's any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Westendorp. I just want to say that being a planner over the last couple of years is not for the faint of heart. I don't know how you've managed to keep following the bouncing ball, but congratulations to you and your team for that. Councillor Burkett.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to the Director, I echo the same feeling. I don't know how you do it. Such a confusing document. I know I get the roads all the time, but now planning has been my #1 role, and I know nothing. Every time I go back to our staff, the rules have changed, and I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole thing, so I got to commend you and your staff for what you're doing. Just a question about the Greenlands. I didn't realize that they're flying an airplane over because I couldn't wrap my head around how they designated the majority of our township Greenlands. Are they going to give us, because I heard you say that there may be some consultation, are they going to allow our planning staff to weigh in on some of the areas that they've labeled Greenlands and maybe switch the designations, or is it written in stone the way it's outlined today?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Burkett. That's a fantastic question. So just to provide a little more clarity, over the last couple of years, the Ministry of Natural Resources has flown LiDAR, and effectively that's a plane or some sort of aerial vehicle that shoots down lasers over the landscape. And what that does is that gives them a better understanding of the lay of the land. But one of the added benefits of that, and so commonly it's done to get a better understanding of the topography. So right now, many of your municipalities have old mapping, the topographical mapping that shows a 2-meter contour. So it changes in the elevation at 2 meter. This gives up to half-meter contours. So it's really helpful from, especially even when we talk about climate change, where are the flood-prone areas? Where are the areas that are more hazardous? And it will really help in that regard. But one of the byproducts of it is it gives you some better sense of the natural heritage features and where to look a little bit more to understand their functions. And so we're utilizing that for our own Greenlands mapping. The county will be doing the consultation, not the province. Our best guess right now is that the province will be shuffling aside, if you will, the natural heritage mapping that caused a lot of confusion a couple of years ago, and we'll be left with the Greenlands mapping and the Greenlands designation on our own through our own county OP, and that's the way we would prefer it, still protecting what we're compelled to protect and what are the right features and functions to leave behind for future generations. However, we will be doing that mapping, and we will be doing the consultation on that.
Thank you. Councillor Hamlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for that report. It's an ever-changing landscape, that's for sure. One of the questions I had was, in our community, we updated our official plan, and I know it's sitting at the county now for approval. So we've gone through very detailed natural heritage mapping and watershed planning. We're also deep into that now. We've had a consultant do a phase 1 on where are our issues, and now they're embarking on a phase 2. How do we fix that? So I'm just sort of wondering on this first point, like, have you spoken to all the municipalities? Do you know how many need this work to be done? And secondly, as part of this, you know, it's really difficult, I'll just say, for a local municipality to balance its spending of its scarce resources when the county staff is sort of just behind us. You know, like, have you a plan maybe we should all be aware of so, you know, we could sort of judge our own circumstances? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director.
Through you, Madam Chair, and that's a great question. It's actually a very common question that's happened over the course of the genesis of county planning, and part of the beauty of county planning and that partnership model that we've been able to refine over the years, especially when Collingwood's a fantastic example. So with the town of Collingwood planning staff, Collingwood has its official plan and it deals with its urban area. Traditionally, the strength of the county official plan has been managing the systems and the services that link all the communities together. And so when we talk about natural heritage system planning, you've done your work in the context of the urban environment, but those systems, and especially the natural systems, they transcend. So we always work together. With regards to the town of Collingwood and your work on the natural heritage system versus ours, our mapping stops at the boundary of all the urban areas, because we do appreciate that in the urban context it's a little different, because those areas need to balance even more so the development with the stewardship of the natural resources. So we're always in touch with local staff. We did have a local planners meeting last Friday and I provided them an update. We try as best as we can to be in sync with each other, but sometimes when we're just one step ahead or behind each other, then that's why we need to stay coordinated even more. But I couldn't agree more. None of us at either level want duplication of services, and we try our best to avoid that at all costs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a second question, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. On the growth management, and this is something I have found to be so confusing, and I'm just wondering how you see this unfolding. And I ask this in the context of, I know some municipalities are planning for way more growth than was projected for them. And I heard you talk this morning about having to do fiscal impact studies. And why it impacts other municipalities, I'll say like Collingwood, is, gee, maybe if we knew a municipality nearby was planning for so much more growth, maybe we would spend less on our services to provide for population because they're going to have it. So for us, I just have to say we're struggling with that right now. So I'm wondering, in this exercise you're planning to go through, do you see some limiting of, like, how are you going to control, can I put it this way, is there a control the county sees on where growth's going to go, and is that something you'll be able to share with us? Thank you.
Director?
Through you, Madam Chair. The growth plan of old had population forecasts as caps. Now it's more of a forecast, and where densification can accommodate more growth, provincial policy doesn't stand in the way. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. When we talk about managing growth, directing it in the right way, causing it to happen in a way that complements the community. That's what I mean by managing growth. The county's role is looking at where new growth should go. That's what this MCR is about. So those settlement area boundary expansions. But for those settlement areas that don't need expansions, we'll still be working with the local municipalities on how they can accommodate their growth in a good and practical way, but also a complementary way. But our involvement is less, because we believe that the local municipal council is best suited to be able to identify how they grow within. Our strength lies at the macro planning, and the municipalities have proven time and time again that they are ready and have been planning their neighborhoods and their communities very well. That's why we have 14 of 16 municipalities with delegated approval for subdivisions, because local municipalities know what their neighborhoods need. So when we talk about the managing growth, does the county have an ability to control it? To a point in terms of settlement area boundary expansions, but right now the county has no role in water or wastewater, and that is traditionally the other tool that's been used in other regions to be able to direct and influence where growth goes and when it goes, and the implementation of it on the ground.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. I I know I'm not close enough to what you're doing, and I appreciate your hard work, but it just seems, I don't know really what you're going to get from doing all this. If you have really if the county, if us in this room can't really control anything to do with growth, I'm not sure where your efforts are going to end up. And also, I'll just add as a comment, I noticed the report suggests that the county's official plan be amended. This is through Hempson's draft report. And I heard you say this morning, sir, that we should be updating the maps to the official plan. But I would just add as a comment that I don't think that this House should be spending money on updating our planning policies when the province has told us we won't have planning authority. And I totally understand that we don't have timelines and exactly what's happening, but I understand you're wanting to still make sure there's some ability to manage planning throughout the county, but to the point of improving and changing our official plan, I would just add my thought that I hope we don't go that far. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Director.
Through you, Madam Chair, just on the point of Bill 23, the rollout of the Bill 23, it still remains, on that last comment, and I know it wasn't a question, but if you'll allow me, one of the details of Bill 23 is that at the point that Bill 23 is proclaimed for the County of Simcoe, and the County of Simcoe becomes an upper tier without planning responsibility, whatever county official plan policies are in effect of that day become part of the local municipal official plans. So it's in all of our best interest to be able to update the county's policies with respect to all of the county's systems and services so that we're all left with the best information possible.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Thank you, and stay tuned. I'm sure there's more to come. Councillor Gordon.
Thanks. I can't let a natural heritage system conversation go without chiming in about our struggles in our community with natural heritage designation. It's been like a development killing ball around our ankle. We added to our official plan, I'll say erroneously last term, goodwill and everything, but it's been a struggle, and it's really hampering our ability to develop. Thankfully, our planning, I call them the growth department, has been working diligently with the county and SSEA and each development process that's ready to move forward and getting through these self-imposed limitations and identifying areas that truly are worthy of protection, because clearly there are some in each of our boundaries. But what we did was just insane. We just took a paintbrush and said anything that was green was protected and no development here. So we've taken great steps and strides and efforts to try and remedy this on a case-by-case scenario so that we are open for business for development and housing. But we're still struggling with a full official plan to rip that layer off and replace it with something meaningful that actually has science behind it. So, other municipalities are probably struggling with this too. But while we're talking about that, for those who follow along, we and municipalities all throughout Simcoe County are open for business, and anyone that has these perhaps misapplied constraints on their official plan, there is a path forward. It just takes a bit of time. It's a process, and there is money involved. But I think we're all committed to the growth, even if we haven't been given targets by the province directly as a lower tier. We're all working to do our part to get more housing built in our community, affordable or otherwise, just any housing. So I just want to take a chance to shout out what the county's doing with natural heritage systems, which I've since learned is a different animal than a natural heritage designation, but same kind of struggles when we're trying to balance growth, responsible planning, and getting homes for people in our province. So. We're all committed to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Anything to add, Director, to that? So I would just say the key word that I heard from Councillor Gordon was balance, and it really is about balance between growth and protecting natural heritage. I can tell you that when I get over a half inch of rain a night, I don't sleep, because I've got an area of my municipality that is going to be underwater and is underwater at least twice a year, if not more. So it is about finding that right balance about where growth should go and where it shouldn't. And with that, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, please, for the recommendation Moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor Cabral, that item number CCW 2024-170, dated June 11th, 2024, regarding an update on the Municipal Comprehensive Review Project and Growth Management Work Plan be received, and that Simcoe County Land Use Planning Community Climate Change Strategy attached as Schedule 3 be endorsed. All those in favor? Any contrary? Seeing none, that carries. And then we'll go to item 12, which is Corporate Services Engineering Delegated Authority. And that's the item and the report on Penetanguishene Road, County Road 93, temporary road closure. Questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, could I please ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation, please? Councillor Fryer and Councillor, who am I seeing, Norris? That under the authority of Simcoe County Bylaw number 4952, the request as outlined within item CCW 2024-165 to temporarily close County Road 93 to facilitate the installation of a crossing culvert be approved. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next is item 12.2, which is County Road 25 temporary closure for the Midland Terry Fox Run. Any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Gordon and Councillor Snell. That item number CCW 2024-167, dated June 11th, 2024, regarding temporary road closure, County Road 25, Bomb Beach Road, be received, and that under the authority of Simcoe County Bylaw number 4952, the request is outlined within item CCW 2024-167 to temporarily close County Road 25 from Marshall Road westerly to the County Road 6 for the duration of the 2024 Midland Terry Fox Run on Sunday, September the 15th, be approved. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. And next is item 13. So I will ask Jim Elliott, please, to introduce our Director of Solid Waste Management to provide a presentation regarding long-term garbage export.
Thank you, Chair Dolan. And by way of brief background, I believe that this council has been well versed on the challenges around solid waste management, not only here within the county, but across the province. Staff have been working diligently to look at all options across the various streams, including organics and recycling, of course, lots of change. The one thing that we hope Council will find great comfort in is that staff have explored and is recommending to you today a long-term solution on the garbage stream. So with that, I would ask that our Director of Waste Management, Rob McCullough, and Laura Barrett, our Collections Manager, walk through some of the details of this recommendation today.
Could I interrupt, Director, just for a second? I did want to just highlight one item, that there is a confidential schedule that has prices involved in it. So if any member at any point has a question or wants to speak to that, if you could please let us know so the warden can take us into closed session, because we mustn't refer any of that to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To you, Madam Chair, and thank you, GM Elliott. Good morning, Council. We're happy to be in front of you again today. A lot of things in waste management have been moving at lightning speed in our area. So we've got an interesting report that we're happy about solving some headaches, hopefully, as we go forward. As we've been reporting to you, there's a great lack of disposal capacity in the province. The Waste to Resource, W2RO, that we belong to has a tracker, and at the time of preparing this report, they note that works out to about 9.6 years worth of disposal capacity left in the province. No one's running around with their hair on fire, unfortunately, to try and solve this issue, so that leaves each of us to try and decide what can be done best. What we know is, with the lack of the diminishing supply, let's put it that way, the diminishing supply of disposal capacity in the province, as that exacerbates, every day we move forward, there's fewer and fewer landfills able to take the material, more and more people wanting to take their material to those sites. So that's going to leave us to a position of upward price pressure for those remaining options that are left to us. Where are we at in the county? As we reported earlier this year to you, our landfills are quickly running out of our own capacity. We were unsuccessful in operating a new county landfill, and county at that time decided not to pursue any new landfills in the county. So in 2013, we started exporting a significant portion of our waste, about 25,000 tons per year, and that stayed even since 2013 to this year in 2024. That represents about 60% of our curbside garbage, just to give you an idea of what that is. This year, the Collingwood landfills actually on its last legs, we're trying to get as much of the available capacity out of it. That's probably looking like midsummer, maybe even to the end of summer. But we had budgeted this year to take up to 15,000 tons of facilities garbage. So as soon as the Collingwood landfills close, 15,000 tons per year will actually also have to be exported. So making us essentially 40,000 tons. But we only have 2 remaining landfills after Collingwood closes. Nottawasaga is probably going to close middle of next year. And then the Oro site, which is the only significant remaining capacity, is going to take all the material that was going to Nottawasaga, so it's going to close quicker. So it's estimated to close by the end of 2027. Remembering that we're keeping 1 year's worth of disposal capacity available at Oro for an emergency situation. If we run into a problem with the border, whatever the issue may well become, we have a local resource to be able to use so that we're not in terrible trouble. Staff released a request for proposal for long-term up to 20-year garbage for external management of the county's garbage. Our top ranking proponent from our scoring system was Emerald Energy from Waste, using their energy from waste facility it's on the border between Brampton and Mississauga, Bramley Road and 407, if that makes it easier for you. We have actually taken material to this location in the past when the very first 5 years of our garbage export, it went to that facility under previous ownership, but we're very familiar with all the senior team which stayed on when it was sold to Algonquin. From Algonquin to Emerald. They like our waste. They find a high BTU value from it. We've sent a couple of test loads in recent years, and that continues to be the case. A huge factor for us is the environmental aspect, and this is certainly a much, much closer haul distance than where we're going to right now at Walker's in Niagara. They do have advanced energy capture system, converts waste into steam, heat, electricity, and they have a new pilot project. They're looking at hydrogen as a source of power. Their current facilities are somewhat limited. They have significant plans in develop right now to take them as is needed to over 500,000 tons per year of processing capacity. They're between 100,000 and 200,000 tons right now, and they feel that they could service us through this new system. As I said before, the costs in everything in this world, including waste management, are going up significantly. The new garbage contract, which would take place not till in 2026, but the new garbage contract is more expensive than what we're paying right now. The 2 bar graphs on your left will give you an idea of that difference. That, you know, we're looking at all our material. This is assuming in 2028 when we're at 100% waste export. It won't be nearly this amount when we start in 2026, but in 2028 and beyond, when we're at full export, Oral's closed, we'll be close to $7.5 million, whereas in the same reference, if we kept the same contract we're in now, which we can't because it expires at 2026, but if we did and did regular CPI increases, that's what that would look at. The middle two bars in this bar graph are the savings we experienced on the new organics contract versus the previous. As you remember, we brought that to you about a month ago. That was a similar difference. So when it comes to the last two bars on the bar graph, the new cost to the county under the new contracts, both for organics and for garbage processing, we're only looking about a $400,000 difference than the current contracts that we're in right now. And an interesting thing we wanted to show you, we will never get to 100% organics capture. But if we got to a higher organics capture, now that garbage disposal's more expensive than organics processing, we would save about $1.5 million. We'll never get there, but the more organics capture we do, the better the economic bottom line for the county, not to mention the environmental benefits. So in that, we have recommended that staff proceed with the award of the long-term 20-year garbage export contract subject to the satisfaction of legal, procurement, and solid waste management staff. And I'm happy to take any questions that may well come from that, knowing that some that if they regard the confidential schedule, I'll defer.
Thank you, Director. We have had a request to go in closed session for that one schedule, but before we do that, so we don't have to clear the house and come back again, why don't we have questions that don't have to do with that schedule first, if that's all right with everyone. So I'll go to Councillor Hamlin and Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a win-win. I like the fact the distance is relatively short, and energy from waste is an excellent solution. But my question is, you know, over the last year and a half or so, I've been sitting here several times, members of our house have asked our senior staff how we're going to handle the fact our landfills are getting closed. And each time the answer, as I recall it, has been the province has made it impossible. Well, I shouldn't say that way. I'll put it this way. It's impossible for us to get a new landfill site. And I had heard every time it's going to be for the province to solve. And I have told this because people in our community are interested in this topic. And now I feel embarrassed, honestly, because it's clear staff have been working away on this wonderful project. They've put an RFP out. And yeah, this is a great solution. But so my question really is, how come we weren't brought into this process earlier? Was it confidential, or is there just like, why? Anyway, thank you.
Director?
Sorry, Councillor, I'm not sure I understand the question, but what I will let you know is that as staff and right in our solid waste management strategy, one of the recommendations is to look for long-term future solutions for our waste management. All items, organics, recycling we didn't have to deal with anymore because the province took that over, but garbage is a very significant portion of that. What we've brought to you is saying landfills, I've never said impossible, but they've made it very, very hard to open new landfills and very similar hard to open a significant expansion to existing. The solution we brought to you is not including a landfill. A landfill is a part of the portion of an energy from waste facility, remembering that they generate a lot of ash that has to be managed, normally dealt with in landfills. There are some experimental uses in concrete as an aggregate replacement and that type of thing. But incineration, in the aspect that we have now, is working on the same piece of zoned land. That's why we think that their approval is very likely to go through and get approved by the province, because they're not having to rezone land. This land is already zoned. All we're looking at is a newer technology, which is going to improve the environmental benefits going forward, and the increased capacity going from like mid 130, 140,000 tons to over 500,000 tons over their development project. So I'm not sure I've answered your question, because we've come to council and have brought forward the strategy that has the recommendations in it that speaks to what staff are looking at. We did know that we became aware half a year or so ago that Algonquin, Emerald Energy from Waste was looking at this expansion. We thought that was interesting. That's why the timing was right for us, knowing that our waste garbage contract with Walker was coming near an end, why it was time to go out and see if we could do something and see if there was other solutions out there that could be looked at.
Yeah, no, Madam Chair, through you, I totally appreciate this, and I think it's a great solution. Honestly, my only comment is my understanding, at least through questions that have been asked in this House, was there was no solution. I'm happy there's a solution, and maybe I've misunderstood the answers, but I'll just leave it by saying I wish we had known staff were working on a solution earlier, because I convey what I hear here to my community who ask questions, and I have been saying there's no solution. We don't know what's going to happen. It's with the province. They don't know what's going on. But anyway, I'll just say I'm happy, and thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Chair Dolan. The question I have is with the contract, we're going to be maintaining the status quo, is my understanding. With their expansion, is it possible that we could reduce the size of our landfills if we actually get ahead of the program? I mean, the potential is there to actually clean up the areas that we've already used as landfill, just in case anything happens in the future.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. We could do that. It comes at the same cost, the cost per ton. So that would be a decision of future councils if you see it responsible to dig out old landfills and pay modern day incineration costs because of it. And we would have to work with the Emerald to see if they had the capacity, because they're setting aside the capacity that we believe we need going forward. Maybe they would, if that was something that council wanted to do, that would be very expensive. We're already going to be paying somewhere in the range of over $6 million per year for just garbage disposal. If you wanted to reverse all the landfills and bring them back to next to nothing, which is a possible thing that can definitely be done, it's going to come at whatever multiplier of that. We're already in for the $6+ million for the incineration, which includes the haulage, just to let you know. But whatever we do beyond that to mine out the old landfills to go there, if we wanted to explore that, would be very, very expensive.
Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Rob. I think this is one of the best solutions right now. My only concern is 20 years is a long time. I think what's going to happen in the next 10, 15, have we looked at our own system and what the cost would be to us to build our own system closer? I'd just like to see some comparisons. I mean, especially signing a 20-year. Is it possible to do a 5-year with 3 renewals of 5-year? How can we break that up?
Through you, Madam Chair, we really we thought it was in the county's best position. We could go back and look at renegotiating that. We thought it was in the county's best position to do 20 years. With the landfill crisis coming in 10 years, to not have a solution that goes beyond that is subjecting ourselves to unknown price fluctuation, right? What we want to do is have a stable forces going forward with the known cost for doing this. Now there's CPI escalations and that sort of thing in, but we're afraid of the market forces when we reaching very close to or running out of disposal capacity, what that's going to do to the cost of a ton of garbage for disposal in the province is quite scary. And I think this makes us feel a lot easier for the economic solution going forward.
Great. Just to follow up. Through the chair. So that goes both ways though, Rob. I mean, if something happens that, 5 more of these are built, which we feel are probably going to happen in the industry, that could also fluctuate in another way. It would make it much more competitive, right? So I could see it going both ways.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair, I agree. You've got to balance the positives and the negatives with this. I would say that the costs that we're looking at, we're competing against landfill and was sort of middle of the pack on the disposal price with landfill. What I see is landfill prices going up, and it takes 10 years plus to get these facilities properly zoned and approvals through the province. I don't think you're going to see a significant other incinerator. And I agree with you. I think the future is likely to see more of these. I don't think you're going to see more of these operational for at least 10 years, even if they're being planned down.
Thank you. Councillor Burkett.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to Rob. Thank you for the report, Rob. Do you have the ability to speak to the province and their staff? Because looking at the numbers, they have 10 more years of capacity. Do they, at the provincial level, know what their intentions are in 10 years, or have they shared that with you? My only concern is with the amount of homes that are now coming aboard, there's going to be another 1.5 million homes. That 10-year period is going to be shortened.
Like I said, I don't believe anyone is running around with their head on fire down there. We and the groups that we belong to through AMO, through RIPCO, through the associated MWA, Municipal Waste Association, are all writing letters to the province on this, looking for guidance on what the province is doing on issues like this, issues like IC&I, waste diversion, issues like the province, the implementation of the organics policy, and if or when that's going to happen. We're not really getting any solid answers. They are expending a lot of power on the waste recycling transition right now, and I think some of these other plans have sort of fallen to the wayside. We have spoken at many previous ministry meetings on this subject. We have a proposal in right now for, I believe it's AMO, to meet with the Minister of Environment. This is one of the 3 items that we want to discuss with them. So I think it's more important to participate through groups like RIPCO, like AMO, Municipal Waste Association, even Waste to Resources, the industry group that also municipalities belong to try and use their combined voices. And they've sent some very nicely worded but very direct letters to the province on this.
Thank you, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 comments. First of all, I want to belabor, I think there's general agreement here that this is a great proposal from a number of different levels: economic, environmental, balancing between development and environment. And I appreciate the effort you put into this and the perspective you've given it in terms of other technologies that we're aware of in Europe and things going forward. So definitely in favor of this. I guess my question, my comment, and I don't want to lead too deep into to a closed session, but you mentioned that they're currently at about 110, I forget the units, but 110 million of something?
No, it's 100. I think that they're between 130 and 140,000 tons per year.
And they're looking to go to about 500,000.
Over that, yeah.
And is that increase solely due to our participation?
No, we'd be supplying somewhere around 60,000 tons per year.
Okay. No, my only comment was, frankly, again, economic and numbers-wise, if we were going to obviously be part of or solely responsible for their expansion from a capital perspective, given our involvement, might be a good opportunity for us to engage in cost sharing and be able to be in a position that we invest in the facility, even in a minority share, to then thereby capture any synergies we might get in the future. So given the 20 years, I'm in favor of 20 years. I think that this type of investment, 5 years is just too small. It's just too much money involved. So the 20-year and given the fact that this is a brand new technology And I believe just from my own straw poll that there's a lot of municipalities are still in the dark or not facing this. And I applaud your proactive approach to finding a new solution. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the public facing report? Councillor Greenlaw.
Thank you, Chair Dillon. Through you to Rob. I have to concur with Councillor Bell's opinion. My concern is about the 20-year agreement. Is we're kicking the ball down the road. We get comfortable and we take our foot off the gas pedal. Incineration is the way we have to go eventually, and I think we need to push that agenda hard. In the 20 years, I would feel more comfortable with a 10-year agreement with a 5-year extension, which should give us the time needed, but not take our foot off the gas pedal on looking that we need to find alternative solutions to this problem.
If I could, Madam Chair, I think I forgot to address one of Councillor Bell's asks early on, was what would the cost of developing our own be? And I don't have an exact number for you. Things have gone crazy in the supply and building in the last 5 years even. I think it's up 40, 50, 60%. My numbers go prior to that. So I think they needed a significant escalating factor. But the price of building about 120,000 ton per year facility was somewhere in the area of between 150 and 200 million capital costs. Operating costs are not factored into that. They're significantly higher. And the problem is, and what I've explained to the facility, the house before, is we're only producing probably around 60,000 tons. That's half of 120 that would what I'm quoting to you on. So we'd have to rely on other sources to be able to run, because when you build an incinerator, you want to run it at 100%, right? Because anything less, you're losing money. Even 120,000 ton per year facility can be built. That's basically the size of what the Durham York project is. They're finding it far too small for their own uses. I don't believe the economics have changed greatly, in that the understanding has historically been that 250,000 tons per year is the beginning where you get economic stability for the price that you capitalize that you have to pay to build that size of facility. And that makes sense with the air cleaning devices that need to be worked on it, rather than undersizing or oversizing and underutilizing. That's the right size to build. We're just not, we would have to have a partner to work that through. And a partner that's probably 4 times bigger than us, because of a 250,000 ton per year facility, we could only supply 60,000 tons. So those are some of the reasons I'm concerned with developing our own energy from waste facility. I will tell you, the NIMBYism of developing them is not less but more than a landfill, in my opinion, from what I've seen, because instead of the most direct neighborhood being concerned for groundwater resources, a huger area is concerned about the potential for air impacts in their area. I would say that just making an incinerator instead of a landfill does not solve those problems. Both modern incineration and modern landfills have good ways to protect the environment, whether it be groundwater or whether it be air. But both are subject to those sort of NIMBYism pressures.
Just before I go to Councillor Gordon, I'll see if anybody wants to hear firsthand account of someone who has been through the process and lives to tell about it. I'm happy to share the application that Innisfil had for an incinerator back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And what ended up ending it in the long run was the fact that not only all of the NIMBYism, but also the fact that that the garbage was being trucked into our municipality and the amount of trucking it would cause, because we were just a tiny piece of what would be imported from the city of Toronto to fuel that plant. And I will also add that former Chair Anderson from Durham Region, who championed the incinerator in Clarington, he was also president of AMO at the time, so I had kind of a front row seat on what he went through, and how he managed is beyond me. It was personal threats against his family. In the end, it took well over 10 years. It took 3 terms of council by the time they got approval, and it takes, although now sized out, it takes all of Simcoe, all of York Region and all of Durham Region in that incinerator. And I'll go to Councillor Gordon.
Thanks. You just touched on it, and I just wanted to express how thankful I am that this is going to buy us 20 years, which I know is still 20 years, that we don't have to worry about a Site 40X again anywhere in Simcoe County and trying to propose a landfill again, because nobody wants to relive that. Here's an opportunity for us to, if we can't partner, as Councillor Evans was saying, here's a place for our garbage to go. And unfortunately, garbage is just one of those awful things that we keep creating more of. So if we have an opportunity here, I would almost at almost any cost happily see it shipped, not stateside, but to a facility that's doing everything they can to recapture and reclaim the energy that is used and to combust that garbage, rather than deal with anything in Simcoe County where we have to revisit a new landfill site. So this is a lot of money, but I believe it's money well spent. And perhaps somewhere along that 20-year path, things will change at the provincial or federal level in a number of areas, not just in our garbage, but also our septage, which is another thing we're struggling with. But in the meantime, this is the responsible way to go, and it means we don't have to pick that scab about a new landfill site anywhere in Simcoe County anytime in our probably lifetimes, political or otherwise.
Seeing no other hands, I'll pass it back to the warden to go into closed session to talk about the schedule.
Okay, so the Committee of the Whole resolved in a closed session at 11:46 under the Authority of the Municipal Act, Section 239(2)(I), a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Moved by Councillor Sander, second by Councillor Measures. Alternate Councillor Sander. All in favor? That is carried. We'll just wait till we get the house cleared. I'll just reread this. It was already carried.
It should be the open version.
Oh, which is, oh. Hang on. Let me find it here. This one?
Yep.
Okay, and my mover was found. Oh, sorry, I need a motion to rise and report. Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Miskimins. All in favor? That is carried. I believe we're open now. I can carry on. So the motion I have moved by Councillor Fowler, second by Councillor Fryer. No vote necessary, but this is the confidential Schedule 1 to item CCW 2024-164 dated June 11, 2024 regarding a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board which, if disclosed, could be reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiation of a group of person or organization be received. So that was carried. So with that, I will now turn it back over to Chair Dolan to finish this off on corporate.
Oh, joy. Thank you. So any further conversations on the public-facing report? Seeing none, there's a recommendation. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation, or is there a revised recommendation for council to consider? Councillor Leduc.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that we make an amendment to the recommendation. If we just put it, have you got the recommendation? Can you put it up in front of us?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
So just to clarify, this is an amendment to the motion, so it would be that solid waste management staff be directed to investigate a partnership with an external organization for providing incineration services for solid waste.
Questions or comments on the amendment? And can I just, for clarification, Councillor, is your intent to also proceed with the contract and then add this as a third bullet?
Yes, this is just an amendment. It's just to add to the bullet, to add to it. So it's just
okay. Questions or comments on the amendment? Councillor Cabral.
Thank you. Just with respect to that, Chair, just want to wrap my head around this. This is just to reach out and see. It would be coming back if there was an opportunity for us to vote as a whole, right? Thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Fowler?
Thank you, Chair Dolan. I can support this because the idea of finding any potential tax savings in the long run over a 20-year period, as it's an existing, what I understand is it's an existing incineration that is in Brampton, that is already in place, that's already building, that's already expanding. Because of that, it's something that we can tackle without, for lack of a better term, minimal NIMBYism in Simcoe County. And as they've got a proven track record, I think this is a viable option.
Thank you. Councillor Van Stavern.
Just in regards to this amendment, would we be only approaching the organization we're potentially talking about now, or would we be talking to all the other applicants who bid on this project?
Councillor Duke, what's your intention?
This would be, the intention is to work within what we have right now. So the body that we're working with would be the intention there.
I just see the potential. There is other applicants really close to this community, and I think it's important we reach out if we want a partnership. If you study the website for this company, they are a privately held company. There's no share arrangement. So I think it's something the other companies do have the opportunity for financial involvement from a share issue.
Councillor Leduc, did you want to respond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have a potential contract here that I think I'm certainly in favor of doing the 20-year contract. This is just asking an amendment to that to look into a partnership. I think it's through our strategic plan moving forward, if this doesn't come that way, that we certainly have things we have to do in the future. We're talking, if we sign a 20-year deal, we still have to look at waste as being an issue. So I think that would be at that time to bring that forward and say, you know what, we need to seek out other opportunities.
Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I can't support that. This is a private company. They're a very reputable company. I've worked with them for years. They've been around for probably close to 40 years, and I have no issue with the company and their standards. What I have an issue with is, because it is a private company, there's different laws and rules. They can bonus everything out, so there's nothing to share at the end of the day. So I don't think that that's our place when we're dealing with waste management to create partnerships. That's investment. That's not us. And I think that maybe from that angle, maybe they want to, look down that avenue, but I don't think it's for us to decide here today.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the amendment? Seeing none, can I call the vote on the amendment, please? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Councillor Greenlaw, you've got a yes sign up, but you've got... I'm voting in favor of what you call. Okay, got it. Okay, and so that's, the amendment is defeated. So could I have a mover and a seconder for the original motion, please? Moved by Councillor Prost, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All those in favor of the original motion? That is carried. Any opposed of the original motion? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. My next item is number 14, and that is corporate services, other matters for consideration. Are there any other matters for consideration for corporate services today? Seeing none, I'll pass it back to you, Warden.
Thank you. I don't want to have lunch here. Is it okay if we push through to 1 o'clock? Is everybody fine with that? Okay, I will turn it over to Chair Evans to keep us moving.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Unfortunately, I have a hard stop at 1 at the latest, so we'll not to put any pressure on anybody. So moving on to performance management items. Item 15, 15.1 is a 2024 asset management plan presentation by Savannah Hargraves, and I'll pass it over to GM Wilcox for an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Evans. Council, we have a presentation, and you've got a report in front of you on the 2024 asset management plan, which is an update to the asset management plan in line with the provincial OREG. This phase of the plan updates to include other assets, which Savannah will go through. We just wanted to present that to you. No decision. What we'd like is support today. Next year, a year from now, we'll be coming back because at that point, we have to address the financial strategy and an endorsement of the different service levels within our asset management plan. So there'll be more decisions at that point. At this point, it's just to provide the additional assets that are in the plan and to approve those. So to take us through that, we have Savannah Hargraves, the supervisor of accounting for capital assets, but I want to also mention that we have a lot of people in the background as well supporting her. We have the Asset Management Committee. There's from across our organization in terms of facilities, fleet, our roads group, all supporting to bring a lot of information that came in here to provide this update. So I thank them as well. Savannah, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity to go through the highlights of our 2024 County of Simcoe Asset Management Plan. What I'd like to do is a brief introduction on asset management and then get into the details of the Ontario Regulation 588.17 requirements. Finish with a brief conclusion and our recommendation. So this asset management plan, as Trevor noted, includes all of our county-owned assets at the current levels of service. This illustration, taken from the strategic plan report, illustrates the vast number of services that the county provides and the assets that support those services. This asset management plan includes our county road segments, our bridges and structural culverts, our fleet and heavy equipment, stormwater network, our facilities, green infrastructure, airport assets, and all other smaller assets such as our operational type equipment, machinery, furniture, information technology. So what is asset management and why is an asset management plan important? Well, we know that asset management is that coordinated effort of all relevant stakeholders and departments across the organization to extract the highest value from our tangible assets at the lowest life cycle cost. Our asset management plan is important because annually we commit a significant investment towards our capital assets. The asset management plan is a key input to our long-term financial plan and budget. It communicates our requirements based on life cycle strategies. It ensures that we're able to mitigate and manage our risk exposure, that we have the required funding available, and of course that we're compliant with regulatory requirements. Looking specifically at Ontario Regulation 588-17, it was implemented with a phased approach. We currently have 2 deadlines left to meet. The July 1st, 2024 deadline, which is to have an asset management plan for all of our county assets at the current levels of service. And we have July 1st, 2025, which is to update that asset management plan, documenting proposed levels of service with the full financial strategy. As we work towards the 2025 deadline, we will continue to work collaboratively with staff and council to determine those proposed levels of service and review both financial and non-financial options, which may be combined to close our funding gap. Looking at the OREG, when we look at the current state of infrastructure, that includes documenting all of our asset inventory, what's the replacement value of that inventory, what's the average age, and what's the condition. This chart here provides an illustration of the number of asset categories that the county owns, what the current inventory is of those asset categories, and what the unit cost is, as well as the replacement cost. As you can see, as of December 31st, 2023, the county owns assets with a total replacement cost of almost $4.5 billion. The 3 largest asset categories that we own, you can see, are our roads, our facilities, and our structures. And this provides a visual as to how significant those 3 largest categories are. They equate to almost 94% of our total replacement cost of our assets. Asset condition. When we look at asset condition can either be a physical assessed condition, which we do for our road segments, our bridges and structural culverts, or for some of our facilities through a building condition assessment. In lieu of a physical assessed condition, our asset management software determines an age-based condition based on the in-service date of our assets. So condition rating of good typically means that the asset's well maintained, has had either a recent rehabilitation, or is new and is fit for the future. A condition rating of good indicates that the asset is in acceptable condition, is approaching generally mid-stage of its useful life, and is adequate or acceptable for now. 86% of our county assets have a condition rating of good to very good when you proportion that based on replacement cost. Our levels of service. Service levels support the county's strategic goals and quantify how well an asset or service is meeting expectations. They're based on customer values or expectations, the expected asset performance, strategic and corporate master plans, the financial capacity of the county to deliver those services, and legislative requirements. The asset management plan and the asset management report details all of the community and technical levels of service by asset category. However, for sake of time today in this presentation, I'm just going to highlight a few. So when we look at the community levels of service, those measure the quality of service delivered to the public. It focuses on the user experience. When we look at our fleet and heavy equipment, we've included the on-time performance of our public transportation system, which was 96.59% in 2023. For the airports, we've included whether service is denied for any reasons other than accidents or incidences and maintenance. We had 0 closures in 2023. And for all of our assets under environmental stewardship, we've included that emission reduction targets will be aligned with our corporate climate action plan. Then we have technical levels of service. These are the quantitative metrics that measure our internal processes, our resources, and our life cycle activities needed to achieve those community levels of service. For CORE, These are the metrics prescribed by Ontario Regulation 588.17. They include the average pavement condition index, average bridge condition index for both the bridges and the structural culverts. And you can see it's 81.77, 74.76, and 72.77 respectively. For the fleet and heavy equipment, we've included the percentage of accessible public access fleet and heavy equipment, which is currently 93%, and the percentage of vehicles that are past their optimum service life at 33%. Under facilities, we've included the facility condition index in the report broken down by facility type, but on average our facilities range from fair to good. And for all other assets, we've used the average age-based condition, which is currently fair. The risk section of the asset management plan includes risk mitigation and management strategies, as well as the identification of our critical assets and our risk matrix, which I'll go into a bit more detail. So when we look at the risk matrix assessment, it's defined as the relationship between the probability of failure and the consequence of failure, where the probability of failure is the likelihood that that asset's going to fail, while the consequences failures, what is the service impact if that asset does fail? Having a risk matrix assessment for all of our assets allows the county to compare different asset types to determine the highest priority. When we proportion our total risk assessment based on replacement costs, as you can see here, our assets have a very low risk rating. Lifecycle management strategies. So the county relies on lifecycle management strategies to ensure that our resources go as far as possible and that we're able to balance and manage existing assets against building new assets. These activities are funded through both our operating and our capital budgets, and they include maintenance, rehabilitation, refurbishment, replacement, growth, and disposal. So this slide here provides a visual as to how some of our asset lifecycle strategies look in our asset management system, particularly with our roads and our bridges, where we would have a deterioration curve that shows if we did not perform lifecycle activities, how quick that asset would deteriorate. However, we do perform events at strategic points in the asset's life, which extends that asset's life much longer. These events are triggered based on conditions. So for our roads, it would be based on the pavement condition index, or for our bridges, it would be based on the bridge condition index. For all other assets, including our fleet, our heavy equipment, facilities, and machinery, operational type equipment and furniture, most of these have preventative maintenance schedules in place for the asset or the component. So replacement occurs once we do a review of that asset condition and risk profile, and it indicates a need for replacement. The financial management strategy is meant to strengthen our overall budgeting and long-term planning process. This is a snapshot in time for the 10-year period 2024 to 2033 based on current information, current costing, current life cycle strategies. It illustrates that the 10-year capital, rehabilitation, and replacement requirement for existing assets is projected to be $489 million, while the 10-year capital requirement for growth and enhancements is projected to be just under $1.3 billion, giving a total 10-year capital requirement of $1.773 billion. Over that 10-year period, the asset management investment, we do know that there is no one funding. We have the Canada Community Building Fund that can be used to support our core and our transit, the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, we have service partner contributions, as well as asset management reserves. However, we're still left with $165 million of remaining funding to be determined based on our current levels of service. So in conclusion, based on the current financial strategy view, there is a funding requirement that will need to be addressed in advance of the 2025 deadline. However, the county's asset management plan is compliant with the July 1st, 2024 regulation requirements and includes all directly owned assets. We would recommend that Council approve the Asset Management Plan 2024 update, which is Ontario Regulation 588.17 compliant. That concludes the summary of the Asset Management Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harfgraves. Very interesting report. I know on our level that the lower tier regulation 588 is really starting to impact us, and dealing with not just the life cycle planning, but the getting the vagaries from year to year out of play, and trying to implement a multi-year budgeting approach so we can try and get a little more static on our tax increases and hopefully have some decreases, but probably never. But thanks very much for your presentation. Any comments or questions, Council? Councillor Fryer, please.
Thank you. And just to comment that it's an excellent report, having done asset management planning myself in my former role. And I want to just convey through you to the rest of the staff, because this is a corporate-wide thing that has to be done, and it involves a lot of person hours and diligence in getting it right. So really appreciate the detailed report, and we know that 2025 will have to put some financial aspects to it, but excellent report. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you. Through the chair. With the future needs, the 10-year outlook, and that's starting in July 2025, as I understand it, does that maintain our current level, or have we adjusted any level of service increase throughout those 10 years? Because if we're just basing it off the current level for the next 10 years, then are we, like, do you hear where we're kind of going? Where are we including a 1% or 5% jump in level of service, or are we just looking at that 10 years straight across with that level of service?
Ms. Hargraves or GM Wilcox?
Through you, Chair. That's a great question. Thank you very much. As we work towards our 2025 deadline, we will be reviewing. Part of it is looking at our proposed levels of service, and with that, what I presented today is just simply based on our current levels of service. We will need to look at service levels in conjunction with other financial options to determine various options, both collaboratively with staff and council.
Councillor Anderson, you're good? Good. Councillor Duke, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great report. Lots of information on here. I just wondered, what is the corporate vision for this? This is a $1.7 billion plan over the next 10 years to 100% fund all of our assets out there. Are we looking to do that? Are we looking to maintain 70% funded? What is our goal for this corporation?
Ms. Hargraves or GM Wilcox, please.
Yes, through you, Chair. That is what we will be coming back with mostly with addressing next year. So the amount that's listed as to be funded, there are various vehicles that we can address. We can address that with debt. We can hopefully address that with other funding. We can reduce that amount by looking at surface levels. So we are going to have to address that, because right now there's a gap in terms of how we would achieve that plan. The other thing we can look at is timing. A lot of that is being influenced by growth and the growth rates. So it depends what happens with those. So more to come, I would say, on that. Thank you.
Councillor Duke, follow up.
So just to be clear in my mind, Trevor, if you don't mind, so our funding gap is actually 300, the 164 and the 249, correct? That's our funding gap right now that we're trying to close?
Pardon me? Yeah, the 165. Yeah, that's right. It's that. Maybe throw up the slide. Right here. Yeah, sorry, the 165. And that includes growth. So that includes all of our maintaining all our existing assets, asset management, right? Mm-hmm. So,
Councillor Duke, you're good. Okay, great. Good. Further questions, comments, Council? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Fryer, seconded. Councillor Van Stavern. Recommendation is that item CCW 2024-179, dated June 11th, 2024, regarding the updated County of Simcoe Asset Management Plan be received, and that the updated 2024 County of Simcoe Asset Management Plan attached as Schedule 1 be approved. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Hargraves. Appreciate that. And to your team, thank you. Moving on to, sorry, I'm going to scroll down here. fingers are slow this morning. Item 16.1, Sustainable Operations Program Update. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion, please? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Thank you. Any comments or discussions on this item? Seeing none. Recommendation is that item CCW 2024-122, dated June 11th, 2024, regarding the Sustainable Operations Program update be received, and that the County of Simcoe's 2022 and 2023 energy consumption and greenhouse gas emission reports and 2024 energy conservation and demand management plan, substantially attached as Schedules 2 and 3 to item CCW 2024-122 be approved and posted to the county's website in compliance with Provincial Electricity Act requirements and Ontario Regulation 25/23. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to other items for consideration. Item 17.1, Audit and Finance Committee Report of May 21st, 2024. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion, please? Councillor Smith and Councillor Rose, thank you. Any discussion or comments on this item? Councillor Norris, please.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. And it's just a quick one, just on behalf of the committee. We just wanted to recognize the Finance Department on how well they've done with their high level of service. We did get presented the audit from Joanna Park, the partner with Barker Tilley. Great discussion. All our questions were answered. In a nutshell, considering what the surplus was, as I'll quote GM Wilcox, we landed the 747 on a postage stamp. So it was well done. And I think we can actually, even on behalf of the House, reach out to all staff for coming in and making our jobs a heck of a lot easier with that financial audit. So well done. That was my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Norris. Yeah, it's going to be a tough act to follow that, or he's planning to leave us, and I hope that that's not the truth. So hopefully he can do it again next year. So that's great. Any further discussion? We're good. Okay, the recommendation is the recommendations contained within the Audit and Finance Committee report dated May 21st, 2024 be approved. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on, 17.2, Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee Report of May 21st, 2024. Can I have a mover and a seconder for discussion? Moved by Councillor McClellan. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Miskimins. Thank you. Any discussion on this item, Council? Comments, questions? Seeing none. Recommendation is that recommendations contained within the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee Report dated May 21st, 2024 be approved. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, Warden. That concludes my participation. I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll look for a motion to adjourn that the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of the Whole be adjourned at 12:43. Moved by Councillor Measures, second by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There are some lunch vouchers for anybody that wants to eat. Economic development. Do you want a half hour? Do you want to have your lunch? So what do you think? 12:15? 12:15, economic development in this room. Thank you.